all set her off her medication. She's over at the safe haven.
Happy Friday evening, everybody. Feeling a skosh better, but Not a skosh enough. But we're here. We're going to do this. Happy Friday. I'm still struggling, y'all. I'm still struggling. Ooh, this ain't no joke. Definitely sub to Grizz if you enjoyed that intro. Grizz has got something else cooking in the oven. Coming soon to an Evil CJ intro near you. Can't wait for that. Got a lot of interesting stuff to go over tonight. TouchDNA. It's an interesting topic. Especially, I just need to share this again. If you have not seen this read through of this article, or even if you have, please share it. Because it needs to get out there. People need to understand that this stuff can take place. We talked West Memphis 3 before. Didn't get much attention. This right here, this shows everything that could literally be taking place against Kohberger. It's 45 minutes, I understand. But damn, people need to understand this. It needs to be out there. This article needs to be out there. The whole 100% guilty. Y'all need to check that out. Because I'm sure everybody was saying 100% guilty against MarkCarver too. And I bet if it would have been in a age the way social media is right now, I'm sure it would have been the same situation. The shit's real. There's a reason we talk about this stuff. There's a reason why I continue to say innocent until proven guilty. There's a reason why. That's a perfect reason why. Because think about it. How many people would have been saying that about MarkCarver? And if you don't know, let me know. I'll go ahead and put a poll in chat. We're going to be talking about it tonight amongst some other stuff we have for this evening. Lieutenant Lanier, some other things from some other contributors. I appreciate it. Speaking of one of them, Unravel. What's up, Unravel? How you doing tonight?
Hey, how are you?
I've been better. But I'm
Not
here.
feeling good still?
No, not feeling it still, but it's all good. I need to be on, especially about this stuff. Did you get to check out any of that? What I'm talking about, MarkCarver. We're going to be going into some of it tonight.
Was it from yesterday?
Yeah, that article.
Yeah, that's
It was a lengthy one. Isn't it crazy, though?
Yeah.
Interviewed the guy. He shook the officer's hand. The officer went and touched the vehicle. And all of a sudden, his touch DNA was on the vehicle. And boom, convicted of unlawful.
How long ago was this?
It was in 2011. He was convicted. It happened in 2008. He was convicted in 2011.
Right.
He sat in jail for 3 years until he was convicted. They had even fabricated information and statements to make it appear like they just focused on him. Totally focused on him. Found a little bit of touch DNA on a door handle, which is the door handle Ellie opened the door with. Who's to say the TouchDNA didn't end up on the sheath because whoever picked it up had it on there? It's crazy, eerie, similar to everything that's going down. It's so freaking crazy similar. He just shook the officer's hand, and next thing you know, he was convicted of unaliving her.
But that's not the case here.
The case is it was TouchDNA, 20 skin cells. What do you mean? That's why I read it, because you look at it and you could match it all up. It could possibly be happening to Kohberger too. What happened to MarkCarver? That's the whole reason I read it. It could be the same thing. What else besides the sheath skin cells is there, Unravel? A white car on surveillance?
In that area, that
they were in the area too.
Maybe witnesses.
They were 200 or 300 feet away. They were literally 200 or 300 feet away. That's it. That's why the police zoned in on him so quick, because both of them stated they were 200-300 yards away and they didn't hear anything that happened. So the authorities focused in on him, and next thing you know, both of them are getting convicted. The only reason one got convicted was because the other guy passed away of a heart attack the day before the trial. Isn't that fucked up?
Yeah, that's messed up.
Yeah. All because of a little TouchDNA. Doesn't mean that you committed the crime. That's why I keep bringing up the coffee cup and my microphone stand. It's that simple.
But it's not the only factor.
White car on surveillance. They started off with 22,000. Okay.
This is only stuff.
There's a lot of white cars.
Yeah,
okay, I'm just saying. I'm sure there were. If MarkCarver, if this happened right now at the same time, I bet you the same shit would be happening to MarkCarver that's been happening to Brian Kohberger. The cell phone data, you hear too many. There's reasonable doubt all over the place with that. There's too many experts saying too many different things. Reasonable doubt.
I don't know.
I mean, okay, you got the sheath. Well, you got the door handle. You got proximity. Well, you got proximity on both. Just, okay, his cell phone utilized the same tower the house did 12 times. Doesn't mean he was sitting outside in front of their parking lot. No. It just means that they utilized the same tower. How many towers are in Moscow to be utilized? Like, what else? What else? Surveillance video of a white car. Like I said, I want to play that dart game that I can just hit a fucking balloon every time I throw a dart. What else? That's what I'm...
Well, I couldn't find my notes. I have a lot written down. I'm going to go see if I hit it in a different place.
It's so similar. It's so similar to what could be taking place right now. And hell, Carver's cousin, Cassida, freaking passed away because they were wrongfully zoning in on him the day before the trial. Do you think that if they weren't falsely accusing him because they wanted to focus on certain people without looking at the facts? Do you think he would have passed away? Maybe not. Not saying he wouldn't have, but damn, don't you think a trial for unaliving somebody when you know you didn't do it, don't you think that'd be pretty damn stressful? I do. I say that shit contributed it too. The fact that they play these games, this isn't just, oh, sorry, we made a mistake. No, this is you're affecting people's freaking lives. So I'm sorry, when I see bullshit, I gotta call it out. What's up, everybody? I'm feeling okay. Dre, Moonville, Sasha, Cherry, Bobby J, Kelly, Maria, Kitty. I'm going to be going into it. I got a bunch of stuff saved for you guys to kind of show you a little bit more about it. And then we're going to go into the Idaho4 stuff. But this stuff needs some attention because, what's up, Detective? Sarah Sweetness. It definitely needs to be heard because what if at the end, what if 3 years later, the same shit happens to him that happened to MarkCarver? This is my point. The dude's already in custody. He's already going to go to trial. So the prosecutors are going to do their thing. It's up to us to call out the bullshit. Because I read, hell, the highlight that I made before the one that I made last night about Ann Taylor's 2017 acquittal. Same thing. Prosecutors focusing in, so confident. Next thing you know, poof, not guilty. And then they say, well, we're just not going to look for anybody else because we feel the person that did the crime got away with it. If that happens too, everybody's always said from the beginning that watch it be a possibility where he gets off and then they don't even care to find the persons that... What's up, Sleazen?
Don't get me wrong. I do think there's
shit.
somebody or some more going on.
Oh yeah, there's more than what's to the eye for sure. But I mean, I'm just saying, you see, the reason I spend 45 minutes out of a show, or longer actually, out of a show to read that is because it's like, and even make a highlight of it, it's like, yo, this shit can happen. You know? You just got to look at it like this, Unravel. Compare this PCA to all the other PCAs. That's all you got to do. When you compare this PCA to all the other PCAs, all the other PCAs are straight up boom, 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 boom. Where's the freaking holes? With this PCA, you can read it. You're like, well, okay. His cell phone utilized the same tower that the house did. Well, it's not like it's Chicago, Illinois. It's Moscow, Idaho. How many towers? I mean, of course it's going to. Of course it is. And then with the white car, you're looking at 22,000 to start off with. What do you mean?
For the tower, the reason why sometimes the towers pick up is if there's so many cell phones or Wi-Fi or whatever using one thing, it'll bounce off to another one.
Yeah. How many are there?
It's not that busy.
That's what I'm saying. But that's what I'm saying, Unravel. How many cell phone towers are there in Moscow? It's not Chicago where there's a whole shit ton, right? Where it's like, boom, oh yeah, we tracked him going down. How many cell phone towers are in Moscow, Unravel?
But we're not only talking about cell phone towers. We're talking about Elantra that has
a white car.
No, the box in the white car. It's digital.
Oh, so I mean, we showed the
I mean,
VIN
it connects
number.
to the phone.
So for sure his model had it, because I thought his model didn't have it. It was an upgraded model that he didn't have that had that feature. That's why I put out the VIN number. Are you sure that it... Because I thought it was the model that wasn't upgraded. So if his car didn't have that, and you're saying that a white car on surveillance, which you just offer a stock photo, you don't even have a good enough photo to offer to the public. You offer a stock photo. So are you really going to be able...
evidence?
Huh?
If it's used for evidence, they're not going to put it out.
Why wouldn't you? If you wanted to catch this person as soon as possible, why wouldn't you want the picture of the real car out there? I mean, it just makes sense. If you want this person caught, especially for unalivened 4 people, if you had a good picture, wouldn't you want it out to the public so they knew what car to look for?
I agree, but they might have a reason.
What would be the reason that they would hold that picture from the public? Because I don't know of any good one. I've thought about it ever since the crime took place, to be honest, about the photo of the vehicle, and I never understood why a real photo of the vehicle was never released to the public if they had one. What's the reason? Because I can't think of any good reason to hold a real picture from the public at all. In fact, if you have one, you should put it out there ASAP. That's just my opinion. I can't think of a good reason. What would be a reason?
Let me sit on that one.
I can't think of one. If you have a real photo, you should be putting it out there as soon as possible because you want this person that just unalived 4 people caught. But instead, you put out a stock photo because all you have is surveillance evidence of a white vehicle driving around in a path that you think they took. And when you're starting your investigation out with 22,000 white vehicles, well, it tells me you don't really have a good place to start. So it tells me that you don't even have a clear picture of the car if you have to start with 22,000. You don't even know the exact model because you don't even have a clear enough picture. That's why you couldn't release one to the public. That's why you had to use a stock photo. And when you're talking about cell phone towers in Moscow, how many of them are there? Of course, the phone is going to connect to it's going to, quote, utilize the tower that the 1122 property utilized. Of course it would. Of course. So you're looking at those 2 things right there. Plenty of frickin' holes. The skin cells on the sheath. I just read MarkCarver's case right there. Same thing took place. So you can't say that doesn't have holes or it's a possibility, because it is. So there's reasonable doubt right there. What else do they have? Because they don't have DNA of the victims anywhere on his items, his home, his residence, his office.
That's what we're being told right now.
Well, don't you think they would put that in the PCA if they had it? Because the last thing they want to do is have any of that stuff in the PCA fall through. So that's what brings me back up to the 2 statements when it comes to both of the roommates and not just one. If you had a statement that matched what your PCA is going with from BF, wouldn't you want that in the PCA as well? Of course you would.
But it might
Of course you would.
Just might be redacted.
You would want, of course it's redacted because it's exculpatory. What I'm trying to say is you want, of course, that's how I feel. I always say I'm not standing at the water cooler. I mean, come on, let's be real. But you're not going to want both statements in the PCA? Why not? That's just like you don't want to put out the real photo of the vehicle. Those two things just don't make sense to me. They don't make sense to me. Why wouldn't you want another statement in the PCA to solidify that PCA? Look at everybody else's PCA. Look at Long Island SK's PCA. Look at Richard Allen's PCA even. And that has holes in it all over as well. That's more clad than this Idaho4 one. This PCA is a joke. Yeah, going off things being told. I've done highlights and read plenty of articles of cases where they're going off of shit they're told, and then what happens? The shit was twisted. Take the 45 minutes to listen to the MarkCarver case that I talked about last night. I'm sorry. It just matches up way too much with the shit that's going down in this case. To sit there and say that the cell phones are ironclad, I don't think so. To sit there and say that the surveillance of the white car, I just pointed out all the reasons why there's holes in it. What's the reason why they wouldn't want to release a real photo? There is none. Then that means you don't give a shit about finding the people that just unalive these 4 victims. Do you think when somebody gets kidnapped, oh, let's not put out the license plate number yet, because we got a good reason. Give me a break. That makes it doesn't. It can't. Just like come on, the photo. You would have to release it. You would have to. To not release that information is to say that you don't
protect people from the stigma of being under investigation.
Do what?
It's sometimes they don't release it to protect people from being under investigation before the police have enough.
They didn't even let the family put out a reward. They didn't even let the family put out a dollar amount just to say, let's catch, whoever can give us information to help catch the person. They didn't even put a photo of a vehicle. They didn't even put a suspect list or a profile. They were just wanting to put out money, and they wouldn't even let them do that.
I think they wanted
a
legit case.
There's a reason. They didn't know.
They didn't know what?
They were going after a Sentra first. How in the hell did they? I'm sorry. I can't think of any reason why you wouldn't put out a real photo of the vehicle if you're trying to catch the person.
Okay, do you remember what we first heard when it first came out?
What?
They said people or person that was in the car that might have evidence.
Yeah, plural. It always said plural.
Because then everybody would be like, it would create chaos.
It was already chaotic. You just had 4 people unalived in the most brutal fashion. Like it's brutal what took place, and then like I said again, it's not serious. Chicago.
They were like focused and dead serious. They didn't want to give anybody heads up of what they knew. They were keeping it under, I don't know, being protective. They know more.
So then why even put out 2011 to 13 Elantra? If you're trying to
come forward.
So then why wouldn't you put out the real vehicle? This is what I'm saying. Why are you going to tell us if you're trying to protect somebody from not putting the real vehicle out there, the real photo, then why are you putting the real model and year out there? Why are you even putting any information about a vehicle out there if you're trying to protect somebody
Okay,
from
so
a vehicle being you know what I mean?
Well, they know the person, whoever was out there, knew that they were out there, regardless if they had anything to do with it or not. They knew. So they're waiting for a reason. If you had a reason why they were there, they could investigate it and then move on. But no one coming forward, that kind of puts, they're like, huh.
I don't know. I don't know. I'm just looking at it in a different way. If it was me and that happened to my sister, I'd want to know the picture of the damn car. I would want the picture of the damn car out there because I'd want this person off the street as soon as possible so it doesn't happen to somebody else's sister. I don't give a fuck about if somebody gets scared because a picture of their damn car ends up on the 5 o'clock news. I don't give a shit. The last thing I want is this person doing this to somebody else's sister.
But
And if that means they put the vehicle picture out there, then that means they put the vehicle picture out there. You know what? If people wanted to think about the person that committed the crime's feelings about, or whoever was involved in it, their feelings, who gives a fuck? Because maybe they should have thought about the person's feelings that they did that to, instead of, oh my gosh, the picture of my vehicle is going to get released to the public.
That's not
Fuck
what I'm
that.
saying at all. I'm not saying that at all. Compromising the investigation is what I'm saying.
If anything, that's going to complete your investigation. You get the person in there quicker so then they don't commit the crime to somebody else. The longer they're out on the street, the more opportunity they have to commit the same crime that they just committed. And it's about protecting the public, number one. Not about getting your investigation top notch. It's about protecting the public, number one, over your damn investigation. So if that means that you're leaving this person out there 1 minute longer, I'm sorry, you're not protecting the community, which is your freaking job.
I'll give you a scenario. Someone steals a white car and then commits a crime. I mean, you got to rule out every avenue first.
If you have a picture of the car, it gets released. If you have a picture of the plate, it gets released. Name me a case where they had a picture of the car in the plate and they never put it out to the public. Because if they did, I would like to call for their damn jobs. That's just like an Amber Alert not releasing a plate number if they have it. That is so fucked up and against your civil duty to protect the community. I'm sorry. You need your ass fucking called out and you need your job gone, as far as I'm concerned. Because if you have, whether it's a picture of a vehicle or you have a picture of a plate and you do not release it to the public, I don't give a fuck if and or what. If you don't release it to the public, get the fuck out. That's just me. And I'm sorry. That's why I can't see them not releasing this shit if they have it. That's why I can't see them not doing it. That's why I'm saying if they had it, they would have. They didn't. They don't. That's why you look at the PCA. Where's the picture of the vehicle? They give you so many things. We could literally read through the PCA right now and I could just call out holes in it. I could create scenarios to show how there's reasonable doubt. You give me somebody else's PCA of any of these other cases that we talk about, how am I going to point holes out? I'm going to look at it and go, some bitch. What am I going to say? They don't have a picture. I don't understand. Can anybody tell me the reason why LE wouldn't release a photo of the vehicle? I want to know a reason why. What is a reason why they would not release a photo of the vehicle to the public if they had one, even before they arrested Kohberger? I'm talking as soon as they had a photo. You know, because I understand you got to go through surveillance. You might not have the picture right away, but sure as fuck, if you have the route that, you look at the PCA, sure as fuck, if you have the route down to a T in the PCA, well, you sure as hell should be able to find all the surveillance known to frickin' man along that route, along that same time. You should be able to have all of it. You shouldn't have to dig through 51 terabytes of surveillance. You should already know what 11 freaking terabytes of surveillance you need to go through, because you already know that. I mean, look at the path on the PCA. So who, at any moment when you figured out that path and you had all of that surveillance and you couldn't get, hell, I make thumbnails out of fucking videos. You know what I'm saying? I make thumbnails out of videos. They could easily get a freaking picture off a surveillance video. So what would be the reason why they couldn't give anybody in the community a clearest photo as possible? Because let's be honest, it's surveillance. How come they couldn't give anybody the clearest photo possible to the public, whether it was because they wanted to protect somebody or they had a good reason? I'd like to know what it is. Because as far as I'm concerned, there's no good reason to hold that from the public if you have it. No good reason. And if you think it is, I would love to hear it. Because as far as I'm concerned, if you have a reason to hold that from the public, then you shouldn't even be doing your fucking job. You shouldn't. Especially with that crime. It's one thing if you rob a bank, but when you unalive 4 kids, young adults, the prime years of their life, working towards the future, almost done with school, ready to begin the next chapter of their life, you do it to those individuals, the future of our country, and you don't put out a photo, and you don't let the family even put out a reward. To me, there's a reason. Because you want to make it look like you know what happened. You don't want other people to figure out what happened. Why do you think we're doing what we're doing with the grub truck tomorrow? Because they don't want us to figure out what happened. That's why there's so many possibilities. That's why there's so many holes and everything. That's why people can talk about one subject and we don't even touch it. Because that's what they want. They want all of these different possibilities and things that could have took place. Because the more possibilities and the more crazy ass shit that gets talked about, and all of a sudden it just dilutes the truth even more. You throw another category on there, all of a sudden that just dilutes the truth a little bit more. That's why I don't entertain a lot of this other crazy ass shit. Because I'm not trying to dilute the truth. I'm not trying to dilute the truth with a whole bunch of this other crazy shit that everybody else talks about for the views and the clicks. It ain't me, because I'm not trying to dilute the truth. I'm trying to figure it out. I'm not trying to create more smoke. I'm trying to fucking blow through it. There's a reason they didn't want a reward. There's a reason they didn't put out a photo. There's a reason for all this shit. And when they don't want to be honest, Because the reason we're doing what we're doing, Unravel, is because they're not being honest. Right?
No, I think it's to allow to be fair.
I mean, why are you looking at the grub truck and looking at other individuals than Kohberger? You know what I'm saying? It's because
I think there's a co-defendant. I think someone knew.
We're not being told the truth. We're not being told the truth.
Yeah, they are allowed to lie to us. It's
in a press conference, not on a PCA.
Well, if they were being lied to at first.
But okay, they came out with the PCA in December, and they have not been able to lie about anything since then. So why are...
It's not lying. They're not lying whatever they were told.
So the case that I just read last night, and I made a highlight of it, nobody was lying on the prosecution side in that case.
I was talking about Idaho.
Right, and I'm saying that could happen in this case too. How do you know that they're not lying, Unravel?
I'm not saying... Why would they lie?
Why would... Okay, so then why are you looking at other people on Grub Truck?
That's what I'm saying, because I think there was someone else that knew. I mean, there had to have been. There was quite a few posts about things that...
So why are you... Okay, but if you feel like the prosecution already has that handled, so why are you even taking the time to look at it then? If you already know that they have it handled, and that person's probably part of what is being in the investigation.
Curiosity.
Okay. I think somebody else did know. That's why I'm saying they're lying. Because...
Let's say
you're only going after one person. Yeah, he got arrested at 12:30. That's the last day that they could lie. That's the last day they could lie.
Maybe, I mean, like, who's to say? I don't know. You never know. It might come. I mean, they keep it secret for a reason. What if...
They did with MarkCarver too. They kept it secret.
Say this person, the co-defendant, I'm just saying, maybe there is, maybe there isn't, but say he or she told them something, and this is why they leaded this way. But then maybe there is a chance where the co-defendant might be lying, and maybe they're trying to find out. They're just trying to find out. Or maybe they already know.
I don't think they do. I think that's why they didn't close off the parking lot in the beginning, and they called it an unalive self-unalive. I think from the beginning they didn't know what the fuck. I don't think they knew what the hell.
In the beginning, that might be true.
And even up until they came up with the PCA. Because, like I said, I've even had other people approach me and ask me to do a show where I compare the Idaho4 PCA to other PCAs. I just read different PCAs so everybody can see the difference. And when you read the PCAs, it's so you can see the difference. That's why I'm saying I didn't even go to school for this shit, and I can see holes in the PCA. Why wouldn't you add somebody else's statement to the PCA to solidify it even more? Why wouldn't you add a real photo to solidify it even more? I don't think they knew. I think they didn't want the family coming out with a reward because they wanted to be the ones to make sure they determined what took place and who was responsible, because they're the big boys. That's why they didn't allow the FBI to take over by simply requesting the FBI's assistance, which means they can let the FBI only participate in what they want them to participate in. So they control what took place and who did it. All of the secrecy. So they can control what took place and who did it. They can determine. They even put out a profile of Ted Bundy when he committed his crimes. They didn't do that with BK. They brought Ted Bundy in for questioning. They didn't do that with BK. They had witness statements. They didn't with BK.
But they also didn't have two people that didn't get touched for 8 hours.
What do you mean Bundy had surviving victims?
That didn't call the cops for 8 hours.
Okay, who says that they knew he left? I don't know. I'm the 8 hour time limit
that
with
has
the
to
girls.
get them boggled too.
I'm sorry, what?
That has to be boggling to the police too. Like, what? But like, they had to, I mean, you know,
They didn't even, why would it be boggling to them? They didn't show up until after 4 o'clock when 911 showed up at noon. Okay, they took their time to get there. What do you mean? But I'm not even talking about the 8 hour gap.
I'm just saying for them to investigate it right, it's going to be, like you have to, okay, so when there's a victim, they don't like to interrogate them multiple times. It already was stated that BF was interrogated multiple times.
But why? But I'm not even talking about the gap between the calls. I'm talking about that they're not being honest about the PCA and what's in it. With the 8 hour gap, you could have so many. There's so many different possibilities with that. The 8 hour gap, that's its own thing.
But I'm just saying, you're talking about the cops not wanting to give out all this information. Why would they when they have to figure out the start?
Because they're doing their job. If you have a picture of the vehicle, you put it out. When we all talk about how the rewards are bullshit because they're 5 or 10 grand, we all talk about how the rewards are so damn low and bullshit because, but when do we ever talk about, oh my gosh, like they're not allowed to put out a reward? When have we ever talked about somebody not being able to if anything, they're like, yeah, go ahead and add on to it. When has a community not been able to put out a reward for somebody that committed this? For real. What community has ever been told no about putting out a reward? The same community that didn't get a fucking picture of the car. That's who. I couldn't believe it. What would be the reason, if you agree with it so much, what would be the reason not to put out a reward?
I didn't say I agreed with it. I'm trying to think of, you're asking me a lot of questions. I'm trying to think of the reasons. Like, I don't know if you're going into something like that, and it would take time. And I'm just saying, if those girls, I don't know why someone wouldn't call for 8 hours.
I'm asking about the reward in the photo. I'm talking about why wouldn't Ellie want to put out a photo if they had of the vehicle, and why wouldn't they allow the families or even themselves? Why wouldn't they allow a reward? Because those two things right there is what I'm saying. There's a reason why. Because of what's been taking place and the stuff that I've read in the last two highlights. It all goes together.
No, not when you have two surviving roommates that were there. It's no. They have to make sure they're not even involved. They have to do their.
So they're not going to allow Okay. Don't you think that the surviving roommates were in the same spot? I mean, so you're saying let's hamper an investigation?
It's not hampering.
Of course it is. You're stalling an investigation. Let's not go at it as quick, or let's not go at it as hard as we could to try and find this person as quick as we could, because we have to make sure that we protect these people.
So how would you go about doing it?
I would be putting out the fucking car, the picture of the car. I already said in the very beginning of talking about this, I would want this person apprehended as soon as possible. One more minute that this person is out on the street is one more minute that they can do this to somebody else.
So because you put out a picture of a car, you think you're going to find them faster?
Damn straight. I'd find them a hell of a lot faster if I didn't put out a picture of a fucking car. And I'd find him a hell of a lot faster if I allowed a reward instead of not allowing one. Because money talks and pictures talk too. If you don't put them out there, who's talking? I mean, damn straight. As soon as I had a photo, hell, I would have took a few photos and I would have put them motherfuckers out there. And then I would have said, hey, you know what? Let's start a GoFundMe. If we can't afford, money Moscow, if we can't afford to put out a frickin' reward for this brutal crime that took place, then let's set up a GoFundMe and let's people donate. I bet you that reward would have been so frickin' high, and you're going to tell me that kind of money don't get people to talk either? Please. That's why they have rewards all the way back since Buford Tannen, in the 1800s. That's why they made rewards, because money talks. Money will get people to tell the truth. Money will get people to give that little bit of information that solidifies that case. Who doesn't want to put out a reward to stop somebody?
Do you know how many people lie for money
put out a photo? But who doesn't want to put out a photo of the vehicle?
How many times have we even got lied to already?
But here's the thing: you're not dishing that money out to everybody that said something. You're dishing it out to the person that led to the person that is being charged or convicted for the crime.
You think? No.
Unravel, because you know how many people don't get the reward money that do the tip?
You know how many people throw the tips out there that are nothing, that don't get money, and then when you throw money in it, it just throws more off?
Unravel, no. Look at the analytics when it comes to rewards and how many people get paid the rewards compared to how many people give those tips to really get the reward money. It's not good.
Pull it up.
So people aren't getting money from throwing lies left and right. It's the truth. You can Google it right now.
Well, pull it up.
There's somebody right here that freaking somebody go ahead and send it to me. There's a dude right here that was supposed to get reward money for the freaking Casey's the lady the cop that took off with the convict. Dude's the one that gave him the tip from the car wash. He didn't even get the reward money, Unravel.
I'm not saying that
Everybody knows this. This is not like some shit that's made up.
I don't
Everybody
even know
knows
why.
this.
That's
The
not
people
even what I
don't
was
get the
saying.
reward money.
I didn't say that. I just said you got a lot more tips to go through, and
no, you told me to look it up.
Yeah, you said you were
going. That's
you
fine.
said you had it.
No, I didn't. You said to look it up. I said somebody could send it to me, but it's the truth. People don't get the reward money, so to say that people are getting reward money for handing out lies is not true. They bear. What I'm trying to say about the reward money is they in fact don't get the money when they do offer the tips. That's what takes place. It's a complete opposite. And what I'm saying is why wouldn't you allow a reward if you wanted to catch the person? Why wouldn't you release a photo if you wanted to catch the person? It makes no sense. There's supposed to be good reasons. I've been waiting for the good reasons, and I don't know anybody. I've been asking chat for some reasons why LE shouldn't release a photo of a vehicle if they have it, or allow a community to have a reward to catch the suspect. I haven't seen that either. It is very rare that the reward money is given to that person. It's ridiculous. It's messed up. When you look into it, it's really fucked up. Because then why would somebody want to, if you look at the analytics, why would somebody want to come forward with information about the reward money thinking already that they're probably not going to get it because of the way that shit goes? It's messed up. There aren't any good reasons. That's why I keep saying they would have put out a photo if they had it. Because why in hell would they not? Why? Why would they not? If they had it, why would they not? Because they want to protect somebody? I don't think so. They put out a stock photo because they did not have a photo. What the hell's an Elantra look like? I don't know, Jim. Well, here, we better put out a stock photo because we don't have anything else. Because if you would have had a real photo, you would have put it out there, because the last thing you want is this person to do it to somebody else. That's called doing your job. I would love to have a fucking LE officer tell me why they wouldn't release a photo of a frickin' car if they had it. Or find me a video. Or find me an article. Something. I want to know a reason why LE wouldn't release a photo of a vehicle if they had it. Or a reward. Especially a reward. Because that's more telling than not having a... Listen, if you don't have a photo of the car, that is what it is. The fact that you don't want a reward out for to the public to help bring in more tips to help... When the families are being told no, when the families themselves, not the general public, when the families themselves are asking to have a reward and they are told no, what reason do you have? When you have the victim's parents coming to you wanting to put up a reward and you tell them no, what fucking reason do you have? Well, I already did the video of how a DoorDash driver can get lost with that whole route right there. I recreated it with Court TV's dash cam, and I did a sarcastic version so you guys could see how it could literally be somebody get... it's 1122 Queen. I'm on Queen Road, but it says King Road. I don't fucking... It's not like it's 1112 Main Street. And it says Main Street on the sign. On the sign of the road, it says Queen Road. On the frickin' thing, it says King Road. Would you not get confused too? I probably would have drove around there too if I was trying to deliver something. Hell, you guys send me out on my trips when I'm leaving different locations and my GPS gets buggy. I'm sure I've made that route a few times. That was a good one too. All right, so I do have some stuff. You're more than welcome to hop up. I sent you a link too. I do have some stuff on that case that I was talking about. I just don't see how they don't release shit if they have it. It just does not make sense to me. But since you guys keep talking about this route, here's this.
On the back side of the second floor room, this living room area.
We'll get into all that other stuff tonight here in a
Dylan
few.
Mortenson's room on the second floor, Vinny. That gives you perspective. And then moving on up, of course, above this camera angle where I am would be the third floor where Kaylee Gonzalez and Maddie Mogan would be at that time that car was passing by this home.
Absolutely. I want to show the folks at home some maps because I know you some more video to show us. Let's take a look at this map. This is, again, you see the crime scene. Let's zoom in on that crime scene. That's the home. And Chanley keeps talking about Queen Road. So at 4:04 in the morning, there's a fourth time that the suspect vehicle goes down Queen Road and then sort of turns around in front of that apartment complex, 500 Queen Road. Then you see it start to move forward and then stops. And they think it's either attempting to park or make some sort of a maneuver right in front of the car on Queen Road. But then it starts to move again and goes towards the intersection of King and Queen Road, and that's where it makes one of those 3-point turns, a K-turn. It turns around in that intersection and then heads back east on Queen Road, again towards the home. Now, Chanley, I know you put together some video showing all of this because this is significant. This is 4:04. This is when the car makes its final pass, and then it's time to break in.
I'm sorry. This path is like Joe Dirt going to commit this crime. Not somebody that studied SKs, that had questionnaires about what they felt, what mistakes they made. This is like a route that Joe Dirt would have took to go do this crime. Like, you're gonna fucking drive up, turn around right there, then come back around, do another turn, and then come back around. I'm sorry. I just assume this dude is smarter than what they're saying he is. Because they're saying he's stupid as fuck.
And that's where it makes one of those 3-point turns, a K-turn. It turns around in that intersection and then heads back east on Queen Road, again towards the home. Now, Chanley, I
mean, anybody. Like, who does that? What's up, Kelly? Who does that? Who literally, like, you're gonna commit a crime and you're gonna just look at that. Just look at it. To me, that looks like somebody that got lost trying to deliver food. And they got confused because they were like, wait a minute, I'm on Queen Road, but I need King Road. I need 1122 King Road. I'm on fucking Queen Road. What is my GPS telling me?
If you have a lot of adrenaline pumping through and this is...
I know this because when I go on my damn trip... Huh? What?
If you have a lot of adrenaline pumping through, if this was planned, I'm just saying, if it was planned and you're pumping yourself up, you're going to make mistakes.
Not if you staked it out. Not if you've
mean,
staked it out, you've planned it out, you've went to school for it, you used all this training mentally with these questions and all these different things. That's why
it's a crime being committed.
You're not Isaiah Ryder and then you turn into Jordan and then go back to Isaiah Ryder.
Who's to say that? Could be.
History. No, history repeats itself. That's why analytics are worth so much, because history does truly repeat itself.
There is never a perfect murder.
I didn't say there was. I'm saying there's analytics. There's analytics and there's history. And history repeats itself. Always. And so that's why analytics is so valuable, because history repeats itself, and then it also catches the time that it doesn't repeat itself and how many times and how it happened and all these other things. That's why analytics are so important. So I bet you if you threw this route in an analytics machine, it would spit out a receipt that says improbable. I'm just guessing. Because I mean, I'm sorry. Somebody that is going to commit this crime is not going to drive around like Joe Dirt. This right
Maybe
here
he was thinking about it.
is
Maybe
the
he
worst.
Maybe he was like, it's a good time. Maybe he's seen somebody. Maybe he's seen a shadow. Maybe he's like, oh, I don't know. Do it not.
Okay.
I mean, like,
I'm just coming from a street perspective, Unravel. And coming from a street perspective, that's one of the dumbest fucking things that you can do. And coming from a street perspective, that shit right there is why you never even get to the position that you're getting from, because of dumb shit right there. So he wouldn't have even got to the position to commit this crime practicing dumb shit like that. It's coming from a street perspective. That route right there is one of the worst routes you could do to commit that crime. An even shittier route would have been the route where dude drives around the parking lot. That's still a dumb fucking move. But to sit there and do this and this and this and this and this, you would have gotten caught because somebody would have done told on your ass because you did dumb shit like that.
Sounds like someone did.
No, because he did the crime. What I'm saying is if you are doing dumb shit like that, people are going to find out that you're going to do the crime before you commit it, and you get caught before you do the crime. That is a route that somebody makes that gets caught. That route right there. A route that a person that commits this crime makes to not get caught is they don't even bring the freaking vehicle there. Because you have properties on the bottom right of where it says crime scene. You have a road that you could park a vehicle that it would not stand out, and you could have literally walked through some brush and some trees and came from the back, and nobody would have seen you in that freaking neighborhood, period. That's the difference between the person that probably committed this crime and this route that they're saying this person took to commit this crime. That right there is a route that gets your ass caught. You can ask anybody that has the street perspective and they will tell you the exact same thing. And when you're committing a crime like that, you're not coming from a holiday perspective. You're coming from a different perspective. Just sent what in Discord? Here, let me get back to this. I'll check my Discord. That's like somebody got lost. I know this because when I go on my damn trips, sometimes my GPS doesn't like to tell me the right way, and all of a sudden I'm doing shit like this. That's somebody that got lost. That's not somebody that stalked out the property 12 times. Come on. Stalked out the property 12 times. But you're like Joe Dirt going to park the car.
Now you put together some video showing all of this because this is significant. This is 404. This is when the car makes its final pass, and then
Give me a break.
It's time to break into the home and commit a murder.
Don't either, Katrina.
Exactly. So again, we started at 3:29 a.m. So this is more than 30 minutes later, 3 passes by this home later. This is the 4th time, like you said, 4:04 a.m. again, making its way east on Queen Road one more time. This is the only way into this area. You see the crime scene to the right. He, according to this affidavit, continues on straight past these apartment buildings on the right and would make it's very narrow road. As you can see, I've spoke to most of these neighbors that live here on this road, this apartment complex. You would have to go all the way towards the end of this narrow road before you could turn around. It's going to be apartment number 52, according to the affidavit. In this area, this wider circle area where that white Hyundai Elantra turned around, according to this affidavit, and then goes back down the hill west on Queen Road where he passes the crime scene one more time. It would have been on his left side, his driver's side of the car at that time. And according to the affidavit, that's when he sort of fails to either turn around, attempts to kind of park or turn around there right in front of the home. Remember those tire marks, Vinny, on this road that I'm showing you? They would be about where that red car is in front in this video, where those
The tire marks, right where that red car is. Yeah. In the parking lot that wasn't closed off in the beginning, right? They're the killer's tire marks. They're the killer's tire marks. It wasn't closed off, but it was preserved, sir. It was preserved.
tire marks were. So he would continue down. He'd pass it after this failed attempt to park or turn around
preserved
in front of the home, and then see the intersection further down where King and Queen meet. He does a 3-point turn there before heading back to this home where, according to this affidavit, committed these murders within about 16 minutes before speeding off at 4:20 a.m. this direction out Valencia Road.
So let me ask you, Chanley, at 404, when all this is happening, what we're showing the folks right now, what's going on inside the house?
At 4:04, well, around 4 a.m., according to the affidavit, there's a DoorDash food delivery delivered to the home, and that was ordered by Xana Kernodle, the second floor room. She ordered food. I believe it was like Jack in the...
That's what they just did with the killer. Look, okay. Does this not look like... We're not even going to listen to him, okay? We're not even going to listen to him. Does this not look... Okay? Does this not look like somebody that's freaking lost trying to order food? I'm not even going to play what they're talking. Just watch their driving, okay? Damn, I swear I'm on Queen Road, but it says 1122 King. Is there another way to get to King Road?
Okay, what do you think?
How do you... Hold on a minute. Let me look at... What? Sorry, I was just letting this play.
Oh, what do you think? What do you like?
What I just did right here. This is what I think took place. I recreated it. Using the dash cam to make people... I'm taking you on me getting lost making a DoorDash delivery Unravel. That's what I'm doing with
So you
TV.
think he's a DoorDash driver?
I don't know. I'm saying, to me, it appears like somebody that was trying to make a delivery. That's why I did this version of it. Because I was tired of people telling me that was the exact route that the person that committed these crimes took. And I'm like, I'm going to show you a version of how this can literally be somebody getting lost delivering food. And thank God that we came across this video from Court TV, which allowed me to show you like I'm making the drive to deliver food, and I get lost doing it. It was perfect. That's why I made a highlight out of it, because I'm like, if you can't see how this could be, that's why I included the route before this part that I did it. So you could see the route that they're talking about, and this is the route that they're showing you that we just saw mapped out. This is the route that they're showing you, and this is a version of me showing you how I could get lost making a DoorDash delivery.
Okay, I get that part. That's the I do, but what's the point? I don't.
The point is to try and show people that this diagram that we just showed up here doesn't mean, like you were just saying, he could be like hyped up, and I'm sitting there saying, no, a person that's going to commit this crime does not do this route. A person that's lost does this route. That's the whole point of me talking about it. You were saying this route was somebody that was getting hyped up or distracted, or
I didn't say
whatever.
that was it. I was thinking, I mean, it's a possibility.
Right.
But
that's why I'm doing it. That's why I'm doing this. I mean, that's why you asked me why I'm doing it, because I'm showing everybody, no, this route that's why I included it in this highlight. This route is not somebody that is jonesing for a fix, is not somebody that's stoned out of their fucking mind, is not somebody that is so distracted or whatever. No, this is somebody that got lost making a damn delivery. And this is me showing how this delivery is not what everybody is saying. No, this is why I did this. Okay. That's why I put case out or lost DoorDash, because this is a perfect version to try and get everybody to understand this could literally be somebody getting lost trying to make a delivery. Quit saying it's the frickin' kit. Quit saying it's the unaliver's path. That's why I'm bringing up these articles that I did, like MarkCarver last night. Quit saying the dude is 100% guilty, because this exact shit can take place and has taken place, and history repeats itself. Period. Period. It repeats itself. I swear I'm on order food. I'm not even going to play what they're talking. Just watch their driving. Okay. Damn, I swear I'm on Queen Road, but it says 1122 King. Is there another way to get to King Road? How do you... Hold on a minute. Let me look at my GPS again real quick. Okay, well, it's telling me I'm at the location, but I'm not at the location. Is that it? I don't know, but it's telling me I'm at the location, but I'm not. Shoot, hold on. Let me see if I can go. It must come around. King Road must come around, because it's on King Road, 1122. Okay, hold on. Let me see. No, shoot. I can't go anywhere. No, it dead ends. Hold on a minute. No, hold on a minute. Let me go back. Hold on. Let me go back. It's got to be this way. It has to be. Hold on. All right. I don't know. I'm on Queen Road now. I'm on Queen Road, but it says 1122 King Road. Huh? Is that it? But it's Queen Road. I'm looking at the numbers on the house, and it says 1122, but I'm on Queen Road. I'm lost, y'all. And that's what I'm saying. What's up, Lana? Thank you for hopping in. That's what I'm saying, Unravel. Like, this route right here could literally... They just did it for us. The whole dash cam, and all that. They just did it for us. Whoops, why is it taking me out of there? There we go. They just did it for us. And then I get lost in my damn trips. Like, I know what it feels like. I know what it feels like. Just, and to sit there and go up and down. And it's like, yeah, well, you know what? It's I'm on queen, but it says king. I'm on queen, but it says king. How do I, what? Huh? Where is this? How do I get there? I could see why somebody went around, because they saw Queen Road continues to go down. So they had to go straight into the apartment building. Shit. Well, this isn't going to be the road because it already told me I reached my destination. So let me turn around. Let me go back down and see if King Road circles around the other way. Because then maybe the front of the house is actually on the road that goes around. I get to the end of the King Road, Queen Road intersection. Fuck, it's a dead end. I got to go back around and try. What? This must be it. Even though it says 1122 and I'm on Queen Road, it says King Road, but it's got to be it. It's got to be it. It's the only thing that makes sense. I don't see somebody. Thank you. I appreciate you so much. For real. I don't see anybody going to commit this crime doing that kind of drive. I just don't see it. And the reason that I was bringing up the video from last night, the highlight that I made about MarkCarver, because you could literally, if you spend the 45 minutes to listen, I know it's a long one, but if you spend 45 minutes listening to my read through, or you take the time, I put the article in the description as well. If you take the time to even read it yourself and read everything that took place in that case, you could literally apply it to Idaho4 and Brian Kohberger and seriously be like, and that's so much reasonable doubt right there. That's so much. What's up? If you want to hop up, you're more than welcome. I know you're busy. I know you're busy, but you're more than welcome. I mean, it's just, and I got a lot of this. I got some stuff from this MarkCarver case to show you guys. Not only the read through of the article last night, but there's different things. I got some documents. I got some videos that you guys can watch. I mean, this stuff is no joke. And people need to hear this video more. They need to hear or even read this article. Like, you take what went on with the acquittal of Ann Taylor in 2017 and how the prosecution was basically like, yo, we focused on this one person, you know, they got found not guilty. Hey, this is the person that we were focused on. We believe without a doubt this is the person that committed the crime. We don't feel like we need to go search or try and find other suspects. You know, that's number one. That's one thing I wanted to show you. And then the next video is me wanting to show you, like, yo, the TouchDNA shakes an officer's hand after an interview. Next thing you know is TouchDNA ends up on the vehicle. Next thing you know, the dude, the stuff's being said, which wasn't true. Stuff's being withheld on purpose that the defense didn't get. Stuff's being withheld. And then they get a conviction. While the other person that was part of it ended up passing away because of it. And then the dude spends 13, 14 years or something in prison for nothing, because he came forward, said he was in the area, did what he was supposed to do as a responsible citizen, gave a statement, shook the officer's hand out of respect, and next thing you know, the dude's sitting in a prison. I can't imagine if that would have happened in today, and the kind of shit that would have been thrown his way. Guilty, guilty, guilty. It's like, yo, this stuff can hit coffee cup DNA. That's right. Coffee cup DNA. Thank you so much, everybody, for hanging out. I appreciate it. I'm going to show you some of that stuff. Now, I don't know if I'll get in trouble from some of this. It's, what is it? Let me see. CBS? ABC. I think I'll be okay. But there's a two-part little ABC News thing that they did about this from 6 years ago. Now, 6 years ago is when the I'll share the article with you guys real quick. Where's it at? National Registry of Exonerations. So this is the National Registry of Exonerations, and this talks about the case right here, if you want it for your own records. This is what we read through the other night, or last night. Sorry, I'm still sick, so I'm kind of cloudy. And this is what we're going to be getting into tonight in this segment of the show, the MarkCarver segment. After that, we'll be getting into some of the other parts as well. We got a long night ahead of us. So I apologize I wasn't on this morning. He was found innocent, but because of association. Sorry to hear that. Thank you, Truth and Transparency, for hopping in. It means a lot. Appreciate you. I love you too. All right. So this is part one. There's two parts of it, and I got some other stuff to go with it. And I even have some documents. Now, I'm just showing the association with the Idaho4 case. Now, because as I started to get into this case, when I started to do more research on it, I almost want to do it. I almost want to make it its own, have its own show, where we're not even talking Idaho4. We're talking about just this case, just to have it separated. But this is the highlights, and then this is to kind of like show you guys why it's tied into Idaho4, the possibilities that could be taking place, the fact that this could be happening to Kohberger, because like I said, history repeats itself. So I'm going to only go into it for a little bit just to show you guys the similarities. We'll go into some other stuff, and then in the future I'm going to have its own show on this MarkCarver with this case and everything that way, more in depth. So here's part one. It's ABC News. TouchDNA not only convicts this person, but also exonerates him. MarkCarver convicted of unaliving from TouchDNA, which was transferred from the cop shaking his hand when he was spoken to near the crime scene. The cop had transferred his DNA onto the victim's car. He spent 10 years in prison after he was convicted, and another 3 before the conviction. 13 years total. And his cousin passed away the day before the trial was to take place. It's a shame.
The other person on the river that day, 39-year-old MarkCarver. He's from just down the road in nearby Gastonia, a dirt road which bears his family name, lined with modest dwellings which house his relatives.
Carver was a very simple person. His family lived out in the country, didn't have much education, could not read very well, cannot write very well.
He couldn't read very well, couldn't write very well. They basically told him he was going to get the death penalty unless he didn't confess. I feel like I need to play that read through for you guys again so you can just or I can always read through it again. I don't know. Like, there's so much in there. If you haven't listened to that, I'll put the link again in chat. Share it. This video, if any of my videos need to get out there, the highlight video that I'm going to post needs to. The people that, with any of these cases where there's TouchDNA discussed, any of them, they need to watch the read through of the document. They need to know about this case. It's creepy.
Unlike Ira, Mark has never been to college. In fact, he's never gone to high school. After years of working in the local cotton mills, he now spends his day here at this fishing hole on the Catawba, where he casts away his troubles, often with this man, his cousin, Neil Cassida. Robin Carver is Mark's sister-in-law.
Oh, they were together all the time when they were fishing and stuff.
What happened on that river that bright May day is as perplexing as it was violent. But this much we can tell you for sure. Today, Ira Yarmolenko is in a North Carolina cemetery, and Mark Carver is in this North Carolina prison, serving a life sentence for her murder. I recently went behind the barbed wire and concrete walls to hear his story. Hi, Mark.
Hi.
I'm Elizabeth.
Okay.
Nice to meet you.
You too.
Why don't you have a seat?
Okay.
How long have you been in this prison, Mark?
5 years.
There is no question that what happened to Ira that day was terrible and tragic. But attorney Chris Muma, who's devoted her career to exonerating the wrongfully convicted, says Carver is also a victim.
We think Mark is innocent. And if Mark is innocent, the family has not received justice, and the true perpetrator is still out on the streets.
Muma took me out on the river to the spot where Carver and Cassida were fishing that morning. Mark would back his truck up to down this road?
Down here.
So he didn't walk the road, he drove down.
He drove down.
So him and his cousin went out to go fishing. They were fishing about 200 or 300 yards away. Okay. Her vehicle was found with both doors open, and she was grasping a vine, and her clothing and her body were wet. The two gentlemen were not wet, were 200-300 yards away, said they didn't hear anything. When investigators during the trial, investigators claimed that they did an experiment where they were both talking from both locations, from where the vehicle was found to where the gentlemen were fishing. LE claimed that they could, in this experiment, that they could hear each other at normal speaking voice, and they could even throw rocks. They were that close to the other people. They could easily communicate. After the trial, it came to light that the prosecution withheld the true experiment, where the LE groups could not even understand anything they were saying. And when they were asked a question if there was a noise coming from a boat or construction equipment, they couldn't answer if it was either or. That was the true experiment that took place. But in trial,
I get that.
That they could hear each other.
But they have a story already. Do you know what I mean? We haven't heard anything that BK had said, what he's done. There's no alibi. They have an alibi.
Their alibi was they were fishing.
Exactly. They were fishing.
And BK's alibi is he was driving around.
Oh.
What?
I mean, he's driving, but that's all he said. That's
okay. So who says he was driving around? He didn't go out and commit the crime. Who says that he wasn't the DoorDash driver driving around? Wouldn't that make more sense if he says he was driving around as his alibi? Him being a DoorDash driver?
No,
So then what? No?
no. That would have been a thing.
Why? You
Why
think
what?
so?
Yeah.
You think so? Why do you think so? If they're not giving us the photo of the vehicle, why would they tell us he's a DoorDash driver? They didn't. The DoorDash driver is not on their suspects. They no longer believe are of interest. So why wouldn't he be the DoorDash
Because they talked
driver?
to the DoorDash driver.
Right. They interviewed the DoorDash driver. You're exactly right. And during the press conference, they said at the time, because this is before Kohberger was even on their radar, they said that they talked to the DoorDash driver in one of the initial press conferences and said they felt like they didn't need to pursue it any further. But where does it stay?
Although they never cleared him. Him.
Dude, I'll take you to the website.
That they cleared him?
That they didn't clear.
I'll take you to the website
and
show you that he's not on the list. See, it says right here. Here's the link for this website.
I know he's not on it.
Yeah, I'm going to show everybody. Yeah, I'm going to show everybody. Here's the link. What's up, Yoli?
Hi.
Here's the link. Let me see. Let's go over here so I can blow it up bigger. Who is not believed to be involved? Two surviving roommates, male in the grub truck surveillance video, private party driver who took Kaylee and Madison home. The male, Kaylee and Madison, called any individual at the residence when 911 was called. The individual on the lease who moved out. The male or his friend who thought was a possible stalker, and the female associate that was a professor. It does not say anywhere DoorDash driver.
Yeah.
What happens if you click on the link? Does it take you somewhere else?
What? This one? No,
Yeah,
there's
no.
There's no hyperlink. You can just do that. No. It's just underlined.
Okay.
But there's nothing about a DoorDash driver. So to say that the DoorDash driver isn't, I mean, how can you say it's not? The DoorDash driver's not cleared.
I know. I said
wouldn't he be on that? Wouldn't he be on the list of persons not? If they're going to put the professor, if they're going to put the possible stalker that came from News Nation's interview of some guy at a vape shop or something. Yeah, dude. Yeah, she came in and said that that she had somebody following her, man. Okay,
he did.
So that's even in this, and you're going to tell me the DoorDash driver's not? That's what I'm saying. How can you say that Kohberger's not the DoorDash driver? How can you say that okay, for some reason he didn't say he was a DoorDash, or it's not being released. But wouldn't that solidify his alibi if he was just driving around? Wouldn't that make his alibi make frickin' sense? Well, I was the DoorDash driver. Yeah, my phone was driving around at that time. Maybe I was the person that delivered the fucking food. Maybe the reason I can tell you that I didn't commit the crime is because my fucking shit was all over. Because you're sitting there getting your shit from a phone that didn't have nothing on it but my fucking burner phone that I was using. Well, fucking tell you, I'm not saying he was a DoorDash driver, because I don't even think he was the one that drove in front of the property and did all that shit. I don't think he was a DoorDash driver.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm just saying hypothetical. 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 Let me see. So let me see here. So yeah, they would have DoorDash driver on there, which is odd that they don't. And another thing that's odd is are there any suspects? At this time, there are no named suspects, no arrests, and no weapon has been found. Right? And then what was the other one where you could turn in frickin' tips?
Down below.
Where's that at? Where was it? Where was that other one at?
I don't know, but it was some kind of thing where if they
I
called.
thought it was at top. Yeah, like you can call.
Watch if you go, let me see.
Right here at the top. Yeah, right here at the top. Crime tips. Crime tips. Detectives are looking for context to the events and people involved in this crime. To assist with the ongoing investigation, any odd or out of the ordinary events that took place should be reported. Our focus is the investigation, not the activities. Your information, whether you believe it is significant or not, might be the piece of the puzzle that helps investigators solve this crime. It's still open.
Yeah.
They still want your tips.
Yep. And I don't like how they worded it. Tips regarding the context of which this crime occurred. I don't know. What more context do they need?
They don't.
How about tips on people who were involved, whether they've been cleared by you or not?
Our detectives still look. Detectives continue investigating what occurred. Detectives are seeking all outside surveillance video taken from 3 a.m. to 6 a.m. on Sunday, November 13th from businesses and residences at all these locations. Shows you the neighborhood.
Yeah. That's the context and where these crimes occurred, the neighborhood, the fact that it's a university town, the fact that there may be some substances involved in that area, the fact that there's parties in that area, the fact that there's, fraternities and sororities that party in that area. The context is there. I just don't know what they mean by context. I don't know.
None of it makes sense, and it's for a reason. That's what I was saying in the beginning. Like, when you listen to this read through, oh, I forgot to put it in chat. When you listen to this read through, and you hear all the stuff that went down, how it went down, the end result, and then what took place after that. I could see him being the current day BK. If this case took place or had taken place, last year like this one did, I could see the same shit happening to this dude that's happening to BK. I'm not saying BK's innocent. I don't fucking know. I've always said there's some shit that does say, yeah, why is your DNA there? This and all this. But at the same time, I see this and it's like, okay, why is your DNA there? Because they were asking the same thing about this guy. They had asked these investigators, like, did you guys, they had tested fingerprints. None of their DNA was even on the items that were used to unalive this woman. Neither one of their DNA was even on it. And they were still convicted. And what I'm trying to show people is what if it was you that you did an interview, shook an LE hand, their hand went and touched something else, and next thing you're getting convicted of a freaking crime. Because that's what happened to MarkCarver.
That's sad.
And that's what could be happening to BK. You know, I always say I'm not at the water cooler because I don't know, but damn, I'll be damned if somebody is in prison like this MarkCarver guy. I would have stood up for him too if I would have known all of it was going down. Damn straight. Because what if it was me? What if it was you? You know, what if it was you, Yoli? You don't think I would be pushing like I'm pushing? Hell yeah, I would be.
Yeah.
Or
And
Unravel or anybody. I'd be pushing.
I just got an email from 23andMe telling me that the system was compromised, that my data may have been accessed.
What?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
It's the other day.
What do you think?
I don't know. I just think that they're putting that out as a precaution because of all the stuff that's coming around.
About what we're talking about?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I just feel like maybe they are trying to be cautious in case something did breach, because I did change my settings to like no research. My data can't be used for research and it can't be used for LE. You had to go in there and actually change your settings, and that was what
Right.
Gabriela Vargas had talked about. So yeah, I went in there, I changed my settings. After I did that a few days ago, I got an email saying that there might have been a compromise and blah, blah, blah. And they're telling, you know, we don't think your DNA has been accessed, but, you know, in the event that it was, we're taking all precautions to make sure it's not used and blah, blah, blah. So, yeah. Oh, Kelly Miller got that too.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. They probably know we're talking. I'm gonna jump to a couple things real quick I want to get into before, because we're gonna end up ending the show with a lot of this talk with MarkCarver. I do want to switch to a couple small things. First, there was something on Twitter that I wanted to share a few days ago. Why was Lieutenant Roger Lanier on administrative leave from Lewiston PD? He's either retiring, quote, stepping down, or quitting, and he didn't retire. Everyone knows what its administrative leave means. It says City Manager Jim Bennett says the city received a letter from the lieutenant that he's retiring from LPD. Bennett says Lanier has been an important part of LPD throughout his career and wishes him well. Lanier goes to the City of Moscow Police Department as captain. His first day is June 20th. His last day with Lewiston will be Friday, June 17th. Until then, he is on administrative leave. Then it has this picture. Lewiston, 2016, then transfers over. Then I want to say thank you to Caddy, because she also sent me some information on this as well. And it says Lewiston, Idaho, 2016, when Lieutenant Roger Lanier retired. Last day in Lewiston, Idaho, June 17th, and first day in Moscow, Idaho, June 20th. As the captain, why was he on administrative leave until the move to Moscow? And in 2020, the director of Whitcomb 911 Dispatch Center abruptly resigns. Lanier appointed Whitcomb interim director. He would spend 70% of his time at the center. Believe he was appointed by Fry. Not sure how long he did this. Isn't that crazy? A little bit of Lanier. And we'll be getting into more of that coming up in future shows. I just wanted to give you guys a little tidbit on that real quick. Oh, and it wasn't sharing. Hold on. I thought it was sharing the photos. So here's the first photo. Go full screen on this one. Mm-hmm. I just don't think. Thank you. Appreciate that. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of curiosity when it comes to this. A lot of shit just don't make sense. That's why I'm saying it's like it's for a reason. They don't want us to know, just like a lot of this other shit. Was there anything you had sent me a bunch of stuff on Unravel before we get into this MarkCarver stuff? Because I'll probably end the show on that. Is there some stuff that you'd sent me earlier that you kind of want to check out? I don't want it to be. I don't know how long you're able to hang out or not. I don't want to. I figure if you want to, we can go into that now, just in case. Yeah, you're good. Okay. Let me see here. So I'm going to go. This is a 2 parts from ABC. This is the MarkCarver, the whole UNC Charlotte student unaliving crime that we've been talking about for most of the show.
Really enjoyed the beauty of nature. She tried to find it everywhere.
Pavel is Ira's brother. Why do you think your sister drove to the river that day?
I think that she was looking for a pretty spot to take pictures at.
Ira is originally from the Ukraine, immigrating here with her family when she was just 7 years old. The other person on the river that day, 39-year-old MarkCarver. He's from just down the road in nearby Gastonia, a dirt road which bears his family name, lined with modest dwellings which house his relatives.
Carver was a very simple person. His family lived out in the country, didn't have much education, could not read very well, cannot write very well.
Unlike Ira, Mark has never been to college. In fact, he's never gone to high school. After years of working in the local cotton mills, he now spends his day here at this fishing hole on the Catawba, where he casts away his troubles, often with this man, his cousin, Neil Cassida. Robin Carver is Mark's sister-in-law.
Oh, they were together all the time when they were fishing and stuff.
What happened on that river that bright May day is as perplexing as it was violent. But this much we can tell you for sure. Today, Ira Yarmolenko is in a North Carolina cemetery, and MarkCarver is in this North Carolina prison, serving a life sentence for her murder. I recently went behind the barbed wire and concrete walls to hear his story.
Hi, Mark.
Hi.
I'm Elizabeth.
Okay.
Nice to meet you.
You too.
Why don't you have a seat?
Okay.
How long have you been in this prison, Mark?
5 years.
There is no question that what happened to Ira that day was terrible and tragic. But attorney Chris Muma, who's devoted her career to exonerating the wrongfully convicted, says Carver is also a victim.
We think Mark is innocent. And if Mark is innocent, the family has not received justice, and the true perpetrator is still out on the streets.
Muma took me out on the river to the spot where Carver and Cassida were fishing that morning.
Mark would back his truck up to down this road?
Down here.
So he didn't walk the road. He drove down.
He drove down.
And literally parked with the back of the truck right here.
He would sit on the back, the tailgate, and fish.
Cassida left around 12:30 that afternoon, leaving Carver alone. Half an hour later, 2 jet skiers out for a ride on the Catawba come upon a gruesome scene.
Yes, Lieutenant. 911. I'm a boater on the Carver River above the I-85 bridge.
Something blue and metallic catches the eye of one of the jet skiers.
There's a car that's run off an embankment, and there's a body laying there. I don't know if they're alive or not.
And as they motor up closer, they see the body of a young girl lying in the grass beside the car.
It is Ira Yarmolenko, her body, her car, found 100 yards upriver from Carver's fishing hole.
The police found Ira's body right beside the driver's side of the car.
Elizabeth Leland has written extensively about the case for the Charlotte Observer. She says the bizarre crime scene posed far more questions than answers.
She wasn't raped. She wasn't robbed. There were lots of things that just didn't make sense about this case.
Among them, the odd manner of death. These 3 ligatures around her neck.
There was the drawstring that had been taken out of her hoodie.
All right, and this is a part where it's going to get a trigger warning. So I'm going to keep that up. And I'm also going to change the one in the top right. Even if I'm highlighting messages, you'll see it up there. We won't be playing closed captioning, so you won't see the words being talked about, but you might see some photos. I doubt it's going to be graphic because it is ABC. But top right, look for that to go away. You can unmute if you easily get triggered, just as a heads up. These videos will approximately be about another 15 to 20 minutes. If you needed to leave, I would just say come back in about 20 minutes or so, and we should be past this part of these videos.
And wrapped around tight and knotted in several places. There was a bungee cord that had been tied around. And lastly, a very dainty little blue ribbon.
A disturbing discovery in the Catawba River, a body.
As the media descends, police begin canvassing the area for witnesses. They talk to those 2 jet skiers and to construction workers who were in the area where Ira's body was found.
We went to see if anything could be done, but it was too late. There was no movement.
And of course, they find that fisherman calmly casting for carp just downstream, MarkCarver.
And what did they tell you was happening?
They didn't tell me nothing. They just said they need to get my name and address and my fishing license. I give them to them. And then he gave them back. I shook his hand. They went up through there.
Carver is cooperative, but not very helpful. He says he neither saw nor heard anything. So police have nothing but bad news to deliver when they notify Ira's family.
Police officer came to the door.
What did he say?
He slowly walked in and told us that unfortunately they have found my sister's body and that they're very certain that it's her.
I can't fathom getting news like that.
I think all of us simply collapsed where we were, and that was it.
Days pass with no arrest. The mystery now as deep as the sorrow.
I hope that when you go home tonight, you will tell everybody that you love them. You will tell everyone that you know that you love them.
Pavel eulogizes his sister at a memorial service on campus. In the coming days, she is laid to rest, while detectives speak to those who last saw her, piecing together her final steps.
This video is to represent the timeline for Miss Irina Yarmolenko.
Detectives record this timeline video.
Ira spent the morning running errands. She went to the credit union, then she went to the Goodwill.
A security camera catches her donating several bags of clothing.
And then she went to Jackson's Java, which was a coffee shop where she worked.
It takes approximately 5 minutes and 50 seconds to drive to Jackson's Java from Goodwill.
And from there to the Catawba River is about a 19-minute drive.
This is the last documented moment of Ira's life. A grainy video of her car driving through the parking lot of a YMCA, about half a mile from the embankment where her car was found. Police study it, searching for any sign of another person with her. But the video is so unclear, police can't tell. So they pursue the theory that Ira must have met her killer out on the river.
If someone approached her that she didn't know, would she have had her defenses up?
Unfortunately for her, I think she was much more of an outgoing type of person.
The kind of person who would trust people she didn't know.
I think so, yeah.
With the search for the killer dragging on for weeks and then months, public pressure on the police to solve the crime mounts.
We were tormented by this search. We thought of it more or less constantly.
We're talking about a life and death struggle.
One second, I'm trying to find the part 2 of it. It was supposed to go right to it. 1 second. Where's the part 2? Here it is, right here.
I'll need you to put on these gloves before going through the evidence.
On the ground floor of the Gaston County Courthouse, we find this cardboard box. Inside, the evidence from the Ira Yarmolenko crime scene, the 3 ligatures that were wrapped around her neck, a small floral bag from which one of those ligatures, a blue ribbon, had been torn.
And look at how tight that knot is.
Crime scene photos of her car on the banks of the river, all pieces of a Rubik's Cube of a case. Investigators spend 6 months working every possible lead and interviewing cooperative witnesses like MarkCarver repeatedly.
Did you see that little girl?
I told him I didn't know what happened to the girl, or I went up there and helped her.
Carver and his cousin Neil Cassida both volunteered DNA samples. Meanwhile, Ira's family works the media, keeping images of the smiling student, the carefree spirit that was Ira, alive in the public's mind.
We simply did the only thing we could do, contact local media and get information out there so that possible witnesses would submit information.
Pavel, a brother who won't quit, at one point appeals directly to the killer.
I have no doubt that once you truly realize how deeply you've hurt us all, you'll have no choice but to surrender.
It is not until 7 months after the murder that investigators finally catch a break. They have a DNA match. Traces of MarkCarver's DNA in one spot on the outside of the car, above the rear driver's side door. Neil Cassidy's DNA is in 2 spots, on the inside of the right passenger window and on an armrest.
What kind of DNA are we talking about?
It's DNA where skin cells have been shed, and typically it's called TouchDNA.
It is not blood DNA or semen, but police think it's enough, even though the 2 cousins had no obvious motive for murder.
The question that the DNA never answered and the police never could was why these men would kill Ira Yarmolenko.
Groping for answers, police come up with a theory that Ira had somehow seen Carver and Cassida doing something so outrageous they had to kill her to keep their secret.
Their theory was that Ira was down there to photograph and caught the men doing something that they didn't want anybody to know about.
Which is why they said the camera had 2 clicks over, like it had taken 2 photos, but no film inside of it. The article read-through shows you what they were stating during the trial and then what actually was the truth when they started to take over to present the real evidence in the case to get this man's conviction overturned for this crime. It's 45 minutes, I know, but I'm telling you, the whole article it's mind-blowing.
And so that the men violently strangled her and pushed the car down the embankment, and that's why their DNA was found on it.
So now MarkCarver finds himself on the hot seat.
Do you know what DNA is? I found your DNA inside her car. I can explain it. Now, you didn't find mine? Yeah, I did. I'm yours and Neil's buddy. My DNA ain't in that car. How much would you look at? I bet you $1 million. My DNA ain't in that car. I didn't know that car was even up there. Hey, mine. I can't help you, but I didn't do it. You said you didn't see a car, you never heard a car, you never touched the car. Lo and behold, guess whose DNA is inside a dead girl's car?
Over and over again, you keep telling the police, we didn't touch the car.
I told them, but they didn't believe nothing we told them.
In fact, during that hour-long interrogation, Carver denies seeing Ira or touching her car more than 50 times.
I'm telling you. Sure.
When the interview finally wraps up, police allow Carver and his cousin Neil Cassida to go home. But Neil's daughter, Amy, says the writing was on the wall.
He walked in and he was like, they're trying to pin this on me.
Did he tell you what they said to him?
Well, they were saying that that they knew he did it. He just needed to confess it.
2 days later, before sunrise, police show up to arrest the men. They haul them back in and give them one last chance to confess.
All right, Neil, we got a few procedural things to do real quick.
This is Neil Cassida.
Y'all parking the wrong tree. I swear my mom was married, but I didn't have a thing to do with it.
No confession, no matter.
Police charge MarkCarver and Neil Cassida with her murder.
And Neil Cassida is the gentleman that passed away the day before the trial was supposed to begin.
Arrested.
Huh?
No, this is so unfortunate and it's horrible. And you can tell he didn't have nothing to do with it.
Yeah. He could barely read or write. And they didn't find his DNA inside the car. They found it on the door handle that opened it up. The door handle that was left open.
Horrible.
The driver's side door and the passenger side door behind the driver's door was left open. They found his DNA, his touch DNA. And because of the touch DNA, even though his DNA and Cassida's DNA was not on the items used to commit the crime, it was on an item at the scene of the crime. They were able to convict these. Well, he passed away before, but they were able to convict. Yeah, this is his cousin, Kelly. Cassida is his cousin. He's the one that passed away the day before the trial.
It's horrible.
Because the touch DNA and it.
I understand about the touch DNA, but there was really nothing else connecting him.
No. That's what I'm saying. That's why I'm poking holes in the PCA, because I'm saying what else is there to connect BK other than the touch DNA?
But that's not the only thing that's holding him.
To me, it is. Because I poked holes in everything else. I poked holes in everything else in the conversation that we had. That's just my opinion. That's why I'm showing this. That's why I'm going into it. That's why I'm going to be doing a show on it, separate than Idaho4. Because to me, what else is... Because I poke hole... in my opinion, I poked holes in the PCA in the beginning of the conversation. And that's why I'm playing this, is because to me, it's like nothing else was connecting these gentlemen other than having touch DNA at the scene of the crime. Nothing else is connecting BK because other than touch DNA at the scene of the crime. And that's why I'm bringing this up as a possibility that could be happening to BK. I'm not saying it is. I'm just saying it's possible. And people need to quit being 100% guilty because they're not standing at the water cooler either. And people need to understand that this kind of shit takes place. And to say that he's 100% guilty off of what's there, I'm sorry.
I don't think he's 100% guilty.
I'm saying for the people that do. Because this right here should make it be 99, not 100. This right here.
So
Yeah, that's
Unravel, do you
Go
think
ahead.
that he had that BK was aware of what was going on when it happened?
I think he knows something.
Yeah. Well,
I'm not so sure anymore after reading this stuff. The last
I don't
few
know,
nights.
but BK has a right to confront his accusers. Like, these witnesses might be kept secret for a little bit, but at the time of trial, he's gonna be able to confront. He has to be able to confront his accusers. So at some point, Ann Taylor's going to have to be able to cross-examine people who are pointing the finger at him. And, you know, I don't know outside of law enforcement who is pointing the finger at him, except for Dylan, who says the bushy eyebrows, but that's not really pointing the finger at him. That's pointing the finger at... Yeah,
Anybody that reports anything is saying they never seen him and they don't know who the dude is.
Yeah, so if they do have some kind of secret witness, which I doubt, that secret witness is going to have to come up, and Ann Taylor is going to have the opportunity to say, did you get a deal as a part of your testimony here today? What deal did you get? And they're going to say, I got immunity, you know?
Yeah. Who says that the witness is not the person that got offered a deal?
Yeah.
And to not have charges, or to not have certain charges. Maybe to make a deal to go into witness protection.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. There's some kind of deal. Because they're wanting to keep something quiet. They're wanting to keep something quiet. All right. So, yeah, this is the gentleman that passed away the day before.
Neil Cassida had already passed a polygraph. The men appear stunned and confused at their arraignment the following day.
Like, everybody was just in shock. We just couldn't believe it was happening.
We do not want to go to trial until we have all the evidence.
The man leading the charge against Carver and Cassida is Gaston County District Attorney Locke Bell. But it is a slow charge. Even after the men make bail,
Neil Cassida's family greeted him inside the Gaston County Jail tonight.
No comment, please.
Police continue to test and eliminate 8 other suspects. 2 years pass before prosecutors bring the case to trial. Then, on the eve of the opening arguments in Neil Cassida's case, a shocking development.
It was Sunday morning. The trial started on Monday. He was in the kitchen, and he told my mom that I'm having a little trouble breathing, and he just fell over.
Neil Cassida never gets his day in court.
Neil Cassida died in his Mount Holly home Sunday morning.
Those 2 years was very hard on him. He was so worried that he was going to prison for something he didn't do.
Even with one of the defendants dead, the state pushes forward with the prosecution of the other, MarkCarver, who at the time hires local defense attorney Brent Ratchford. Before the trial, Carver is offered the deal of a lifetime, plead guilty to second-degree murder, and spend just 4 to 8 years in prison. Ratchford thought the deal was a strong statement about the state's weak case.
I'd never gotten such a low offer. He turned it down without batting an eye.
I'm not going to plead guilty for something I didn't do.
You'd rather spend the rest
There
of
you
your
go,
life in
buddy.
prison.
Yeah.
MarkCarver walked calmly into court.
In March 2011, Carver's
fine.
legal reckoning finally arrives.
He's upbeat and feeling
Sorry.
good. He's innocent, so we're ready for our day.
At trial, prosecutors build their case on 3 key pieces of evidence. The first, Carver's proximity to the crime scene. If he were less than 100 yards from where Ira was killed, prosecutors argue his claim that he heard nothing that day can't be true. Detectives testify about an experiment they conducted on the river. One detective stood where Carver was fishing, another where Ira was. According to testimony, they spoke in normal voices and could hear each other.
We had a lot of issue with that, but it was allowed to come in anyway.
The second piece of evidence is that TouchDNA found on Ira's car that matched MarkCarver. Prosecutors say it proves he touched the car and therefore must have been at the crime scene. And to drive that point home, the state has an ace in the hole. A moment from that interrogation where Carver, police testify, gave himself away.
I believe the words he used was a little thing or a little.
Detective William Terry was also in the room during that interrogation.
He said that she came up to him about right here.
The gotcha moment was when the police detective was recounting the interrogation and said that MarkCarver knew that Ira was little.
That moment is crucial. Carver had always said he had never seen Ira, so prosecutors ask how could he know how tall she was unless he was lying.
the very first thing I thought of was, they got you.
Judge Timothy Kincaid presided over Carver's murder trial.
That's what did it for you?
That was the turning point of that trial.
And with that, the prosecution rested its case.
Everyone was then sort of on the edge of their chair.
Which was a lie, because if you go through the document read that I read, he was already told how little she was before he even gave a statement. He was already told how little she was before he even gave a statement. So that was another lie. The read-through article, I know it's 45 minutes, but trust me, it's gonna make a lot of
Here
sense.
is waiting for the defense to present a case.
But to the shock of Carver's family, Ratchford decides the state's case is so weak, he will present no witnesses or evidence for the defense.
They could not explain how the crime occurred. Based on that, the jury's not going to be convinced beyond a reasonable doubt.
They told us no way that they were going to be convicted.
They're wrong. It takes the jury just a few hours to return with a verdict, guilty of first-degree murder.
When I heard that verdict come down.
Because prosecution painted it out to be and fixated all of this shit to make him and his cousin be the suspects. Case closed. We found the people. Yay, we did a great job, community. So definitely you'll want to listen to that. I'm surprised that was just from 6 years ago. That's when they started the whole process, the exoneration process. So I'm going to show you guys another video here. It's messed up when you hear about all of this stuff. This is the reaction from the guilty verdict. And then we're going to get to some other stuff here too. Oh, it's not playing it. Hold on.
Respect for that.
Reactions after Mark Bradley Carver was found guilty of first-degree unaliving.
The right person, and instead convict an innocent man. The other man has passed away, and there's no respect for that family. His record was expunged. The charges were dropped. This is a travesty of our justice system, or lack of. DNA on the camera. There was no DNA anywhere except maybe on what they say the trunk. DNA can be transferred. Do people not do their research? Do people not take the time? You know, election season comes up, and we need to catch somebody so that somebody can get reelected. And it's not right. And it's not right to put an innocent man in prison for the rest of his life and to destroy the lives of two families. Come out of there. The truth did come out, but not all of it, because it wasn't allowed for all of it to come out.
They didn't get into motive. They didn't get into it. They said DNA on the car from both of them.
There was also DNA from somewhere else. I wasn't there at the scene. I don't know what happened at the scene that day, but I know that these people did not do it, and I know that there's a murderer on the way.
But justice was done here, and it was so incredible watching all these people put everything they had into this case. And so we're very thankful to everyone for
what was that roughly 5.5 hours of wait?
It was very hard. I don't know. It's been very hard to live through all this. But thank you. I think this is.
And that's the victim's brother. You know, can you imagine, you know, they felt like the person that committed these crimes, they felt justice took place. And then 11 years later, you find out that shit was fabricated to get somebody convicted and sent off. because you just didn't feel like being honest and saying you didn't know?
What?
They fabricated shit to get this man convicted. They drove a vehicle with a front windshield when they got a little TouchDNA.
It's not technically fabrication.
It is when you lie on the stand about the experiments that you did and those weren't the results of the experiment. That's fabrication of an experiment. That's fabrication of facts. You're altering the facts.
It's not.
What isn't it? When you do an experiment,
They got it wrong.
and that's not, and you twist it and fabricate the facts of what the experiment was to match what you want to have or who you want to have convicted.
Didn't they say it was TouchDNA?
Unravel, you got to listen to that article that I read through. I might even play it again for you guys tonight because okay, they said they even said it in this. They did an experiment, okay, from the location where Carver and Cassida were standing to where the victim was found. They claimed that they could hear each other in normal speaking voice and understand what each other were saying in court. Because the whole reason they said they zoned in on Carver and Cassida was because they claimed to only be a certain distance away and not heard a thing. That's why they zoned in onto him in the first place. So then they said in trial that they did an experiment where they could hear each other having a normal tone voice conversation, when in fact that was not the truth. When in fact they couldn't even tell the other one if they heard a boat or construction equipment because they couldn't even understand anything that they were saying at normal speaking voice. So that is a fabrication, if I'm calling one, because I thought we were still created something else. No, I already said what they were fabricating. I don't know how you can fabricate evidence if you have TouchDNA from shaking somebody's hand and it gets on a doorknob. That's just transfer DNA. I've never stated anything other than that.
I misunderstood. It was me. I just misunderstood that part.
No, the fabrication. Yeah, that's what they did. And that's not the only thing they fabricated. That whole 45-minute read through is just, it tells you what was stated in trial to get the man convicted, and then the other part tells you the evidence of why he was exonerated. And they don't just take on these cases to just try and get anybody that says they're not guilty. They take these cases that it's obvious there's a wrongful conviction, and that's why they push so hard for it. And thank God that there's organizations out there that have the resources and the ability and the power in order to do that for victims that do get wrongfully convicted because of shit like this. Because LE's trying to focus and drive a vehicle with the front windshield only because it's a PR. They need to get it closed and done and over with so it doesn't make them look bad because they don't know what the fuck took place. And I think that's what's taken place this whole time ever since the beginning of we're not taping off the parking lot and we're calling it an unalive, self-unalive situation. They didn't know shit from the beginning, and they're trying not to look bad, and they have enrollment to worry about. And so they're just trying to catch, just like this right here, where we got a little bit of TouchDNA. We don't know how it got there, but we got a little bit of TouchDNA, and we're going all fucking for it. And the reason that I'm even bringing this case up is because I hope to God this isn't what's happening to BK. People need to not be on the 100%. This right here If it's not 1%, it should be a fucking 50% as far as I'm concerned. But it should at least be minimal 1%. So these 100% guilty, there's your 1%. You should be 99. Because this proves it right here. What other case? We went through West Memphis 3. A lot of similarities there too. This right here, this puts the cherry on top of the fucking cake. This right here. That's why I keep saying this video right here, it needs to be shared. It needs to be shown. It needs to be played. It needs to be freaking out there, because especially with this case, not only Idaho4, but any of these cases that involve TouchDNA, transfer DNA, whatever the DNA word you want to call it, this should be referenced every single time. We need to hold these people in check, because it's not about PR. It's not about, you know, hurrying up. It's not about looking good. It's about the justice. Justice didn't happen here. And if it can happen here, it can happen there. And I feel like it's happening there. It is. It's the first time I heard about it was a couple days ago. And then as I've researched more the last couple days, because I got more stuff to have its own show, trust me. I was even sending some other people some goodies that I had found. And I was like, ooh, this is going to be good. That's why I'm going to have its own show separate, you know, from I'm trying to show you guys the links between the two cases. And then I'm going to have its own show coming up where we're just talking about this case, because I also do want to cover this case, because I also feel like, look, there's justice that hasn't happened in this case either. We need to talk about it. You know, I think this case came across for a reason, not only to show everybody, but also to get this case out there, because everybody that I see in chat, most people that I'm talking to don't even know anything about this damn case.
Yeah, I didn't.
That's why we need to share it. We need to share that read through. I know it's 45 minutes, but we need to share the shit out of it, because that right there, it gives you why he was exonerated, what took place to get exonerated, all the facts. There's a reason it's 45 minutes, because there's a lot of stuff in there, and it gives you everything that you need to know. These videos right here, this is just a small sliver of what I read in that 45 minutes. That 45 minutes is everything. It needs to be shared. It needs to. All right, so let me see if, let me get to the next video here. 1 second. MarkCarver, look it up. We'll be getting more into it, like I said, in its own show. Let me see here. I'm just going through everything. The case. Okay, this is... Okay, so this is 4 years ago. Let me see here. ABC 2020. Okay, this is from 4 years ago. This is WSCO TV 9. This is a local news station. I always love using the local news specials that they have. I feel like that's where you get the most truth. For real. So if anybody does want to send me specials, please. I always love sharing the local news, because they're just like us here on YouTube. You know, we're not the national media, so we have a lot of hurdles and roadblocks that we have to smash through, and that's why I appreciate their integrity and their honesty when it comes to this kind of stuff. So that's why I like playing these. This is WSOC TV 9. And I'm going to put up a poll. Let me know if you guys want me to play the article read through that we did, and we can discuss that too if you want. Just let me know. We can do that next. And again, just as a heads up, it might be graphic in nature because there is some graphic stuff to this case, okay? So just as a heads up, I'm going to pop that down just in case. Once we get through it some more, I might change it up there at the top right of the screen. But as of right now, we're just going to chill back and check this out. I'm going to throw that poll up there. Please make a vote, and then we'll wait until this is over and do that.
More than a decade ago, a young woman, a college student, was found strangled along the banks of the Catawba River. Now, any closure in her murder seems to be in turmoil.
The murderer of Ira Yarmolenko has not been charged and is still out there.
The man convicted of killing her all these years ago will get a second chance to prove his innocence. Did you think this moment would come? I know we
I've
talked
been
to you
waiting.
while you're in. What's that?
I've been waiting.
Did you think it would happen?
Yeah, just took time.
Jurors found MarkCarver guilty of the 2008 murder.
I think I'm wrong.
But now a judge says the evidence was questionable and he deserves a new trial. The team fighting to get him released says they're now ready to prove he's not the person who committed the heinous crime.
We're going to fight it all the way up through the governor's office to make sure he's proven innocent.
But investigators say they've had the right man all along.
As I respect the judge, I think the judge is wrong.
But still, the questions remain. Did a killer just walk out of prison, or was he sent away for a crime he didn't commit?
I know I didn't do nothing. I'm innocent.
Hello and welcome to True Crime Carolinas. I'm Ken Lemon. Tonight we're digging into a case that I've been following for 11 years. From the moment University of North Carolina Charlotte student Ira Yarmolenko's body was found along the Catawba River in Mount Holly.
This is where you get the truth. Local news of people that have been covering the case from the beginning. Yeah, you're going to get some stuff that he's going to know that he ain't going to be able to say. But damn, you're going to get so much truth out of this. Shout out to this gentleman. Shout out to WSOC TV. Appreciate you so much.
In 2008, to the moment that the man once convicted of her murder bonded out of jail. A judge ruled MarkCarver will get a new trial. And I was there to question him as he walked out of jail and into sunshine before headed home to wait for his next legal fight. Mark, what is it? How does it feel after 8 years in prison?
Feels great.
You had a long court battle. The DA says that he believes you are his only living suspect in this case. What do you think about that?
I don't know. I know I didn't do nothing. I'm innocent.
Those first few moments,
Yeah.
when that door opened, how did you feel?
Great. Yeah.
The person who bonded you out is somebody who was exonerated, and he says he thinks that he says he wants to meet and talk with you. Do you know if you're going to speak with him for posting that $100,000 bond that got you out here?
Yeah. I talked to him.
What do you want to say to him?
I thank him. I appreciate it. He knows what I've been through.
Yeah.
This is a small step for you because
Poor
what
guy.
you really wanted was to be
Poor
found innocent.
family.
The judge didn't do that. So how does it feel now getting ready for the next leg of what will be more fights in court?
Just take it one step at a time. That's all I can do, one day at a time. Yeah.
Life on
Did
life's
you think
terms,
this
you know.
moment would come? I know we
I've
talked to
been
you while
waiting.
you're in. What's that?
I've been waiting.
Did you think it would happen?
Yeah. Just took time.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
What would you like the people of North Carolina to know?
It's been hard. It's been rough. Yeah. There's a lot more out there like it.
First thing you're gonna do. What's the first thing you're gonna do now that you're free?
Go see my grandbaby.
And that's exactly what he did. Since that moment when Carver got into a car and went home to his family, he's been spending most of his days with his granddaughter. He spoke with me weeks after his release about what gave him hope behind bars while he fought for his freedom. The man accused of a senseless murder with no apparent motive moved gingerly with a cane in one hand and his attorney's hand in the other.
Are you nervous?
MarkCarver's attorney points to this as evidence that he's innocent.
Does this seem like the MarkCarver who could go and
and commit this murder.
Yes, said prosecutors, they are certain that Mark Carver is the only living person responsible for the murder of Ira Yarmolenko. The body of the 20-year-old University of North Carolina Charlotte student was found in 2008 next to a car on the banks of the Catawba River in Mount Holly. Carver and his cousin Neil Cassida were fishing nearby.
I hate it happened to her, but it wasn't me and Neil.
Neil Cassida would have been tried first, but he died of a heart attack the day before his trial. Carver said Cassida died of wrongful prosecution.
It was hard on him, put a lot of stress on him, so they accused him of something he didn't do.
Carver couldn't avoid trial. He was sentenced to life in prison.
It was long. It was hard. Yeah, especially when you know you didn't do nothing, you know.
Yeah.
Something you didn't do.
His attorney said he was an innocent man with the IQ of a child, trapped in a place with violent offenders.
Sometimes there'd be fights and arguments and stuff. You just had to back off and let them go, you know.
Carver said he survived with help from sympathetic gang members.
Well, they knowed I was innocent and stuff, and they kind of looked out for me. Yeah.
Huh.
He refused to say which gangs helped, but he said he needed support. While his attorneys filed appeal after appeal for 8 years, Carver's faith in securing freedom was waning.
Sometimes I tried to give up.
He said letters to prison from family and complete strangers lifted his spirits.
Where did some of those letters come from?
Everywhere. Yeah. And I had people to read it to me because I couldn't read it.
Aww.
They said they couldn't understand why the system failed. They couldn't
Wow.
understand why an innocent man was doing time for something he didn't do. Told me to hold my head up and stuff.
Wow.
Not to give up.
Chris Muma from the North Carolina Center on Actual Innocence believes she helped the judge understand what all of Carver's supporters saw so easily.
Wow.
The evidence that supports that Mark is guilty of this murder is as strong for him as it is for me.
A judge heard her arguments and awarded Mark Carver a new trial.
If not Mark, who?
Someone close to Ira, Chris Muma said. Someone who prepared to kill her.
This was a crime scene of somebody who planned ahead.
She said police and prosecutors wildly missed the mark and believes they need help finding the real killer.
I firmly believe we know more about this case than law enforcement ever knew. So hopefully somebody will ask for our opinion on that.
Carver is out on bond awaiting the next steps in the legal process.
Wow.
He said he put everything that happened before his release out of his mind.
How do you let something like that go?
You have to. I can't do nothing about it.
He spends his time with his 1-year-old granddaughter, born while he was in prison.
She gives me stuff, sits on my lap, talks to me and stuff. She's getting used to me.
The district attorney plans to appeal to have Carver's conviction upheld. If that doesn't happen, he says he plans to retry the case. It's a troubling scene that started with fishing for Carver and a college exam and errands for Ira. The murder of the 20-year-old shocked the community. It led to an intense investigation and rewards for information, and ultimately the arrest of Carver and his cousin, Neil Cassida, who were fishing near where her body was found. But the moments leading up to Ira's death left very little clues about what happened to the vibrant young woman.
It was a seemingly normal and beautiful May day in 2008, the last day Ira Yarmolenko was seen alive. It was exam week at UNC Charlotte when Ira stepped on campus for the last time, May 5th. The 20-year-old sophomore started her day taking an exam, then spent the rest of the morning running errands. Investigators say
that's a good
Ira
question,
stopped
Bilal.
at a credit union at around 10:18 a.m. Then less than 20 minutes later, at 10:33, security camera footage shows her dropping off several bags of donations at the Goodwill on University City Boulevard. It was around 10:50 when she stopped at Jackson's Java, a coffee shop where she worked near campus. Then she drove to the Catawba River, 20 miles away, where police say she was going to work on a photography project.
I think that she was looking for a pretty spot to take pictures at.
Around 1:15 p.m., two people on jet skis saw Ira's body on the banks of the river in Mount Holly near the Stowe Family YMCA just north of the I-85 bridge.
I'm a boater on the Catawba River above the I-85 bridge. There's a car that's run off an embankment and there's a body laying there. I don't know if they're alive or not.
The last documented moment of her life was grainy surveillance video of her car driving through the YMCA parking lot. Police sent that video to NASA in Florida, hoping it could be enhanced so they could tell if there was anyone with Ira They were unable to find evidence. The young woman was abducted and determined she must have met her killer down at the river. It was the next day that investigators confirmed it was Ira's body found on the river banks. And 2 days later, an autopsy report revealed she died of asphyxiation.
Police said Ira was found lying next to her car. The North Carolina State Bureau of Investigation said a bungee cord, a ribbon, and a sweatshirt drawstring were found around her neck. Back 11 years ago, I spoke with those jet skiers who found Ira's body hours after she was last seen.
I knew she was.
Yeah, we did a show back on. That's what we were saying earlier, Pickle. We did a show earlier on the West Memphis 3 a few months ago, and I was trying to show people how similar that case was to the Idaho4. Now this case, we're kind of going into it, and I'm trying to show everybody the connections and the links and the similarities. Very eerie to me, in my opinion, the similarities of how everything took place when it comes to this case. But yeah, it's very similar to the West Memphis 3. Definitely check out our West Memphis 3 show, Pickle. I'm sure you'll enjoy it. We're definitely going to be having a show. This is a show where I'm kind of showing everybody the Idaho4 links and similarities to this case, and we are going to have a show for this case where we're not even talking Idaho4. It's going to be about this case, period, from there as well.
And I knew it was a crime scene. I can visualize her fighting for her life on this riverbank right here until someone, whoever it was, finally killed her.
Just days later, Dennis Lovelace and Brenda Pierce took me back to the river where they found Ira's body. It was emotional for both of them being back at the spot where they made the gruesome discovery. I still remember our conversation, Brenda breaking down into tears.
We came back on the Wednesday after we found Ira's body, and I couldn't stay. It's just really emotional. It's uncomforting. It's eerie.
The two were out to jet ski, a nice way to spend a summer day out on the water, the sun shining, and then
the car was right on the bank right here, and we turned around and came back.
They said the grass around the 20-year-old's body had been beaten down like there'd been a struggle.
That day was so beautiful out here. There wasn't any clouds, and just right there was that's where we found her, and just the sun beaming on her face like that, I will never forget it.
It was well before any suspects emerged in the case.
Just wondering where the perpetrator went. Which way did he leave? And when we come by here, it's going to always just those questions until they're answered are going to be in my mind, and her face is always going to be in my mind. It's going to be on my mind every time I cross by here, being on the water all the time.
A body found on the river, maybe a murder. It was almost unheard of in the small town of Mount Holly.
You don't expect anything like that happening near you.
I was there when police went along the banks of the Catawba River that afternoon.
A grassy area down a huge embankment. To me, that is a concern right there for how did the vehicle get down there to begin with.
And I followed the investigation step by step.
Someone caused her death.
The leads police had right after the crime and the challenges they faced. Plus, as time passed, investigators turned their focus to two fishermen. The evidence police say led to their arrest months after the crime, and my interview with MarkCarver from behind bars.
I don't know why they're playing that down, but I didn't do it.
And thank you, everybody, for hanging out while we go through this. There's just another 25 minutes or so, and then we'll go from there.
Police were very tight-lipped as they investigated Ira Yarmolenko's death. It wasn't until days after her body was found that they labeled it a murder investigation. I, along with several other reporters, went down to the scene with then Mount Holly Police Chief David Belk. It was when investigators had more questions than answers about the circumstances that led to her killing.
Ira's body was laying right here. Her feet are down at this end, and her head is at where your feet are right here. So the vehicle is actually sitting right here, with the driver's door open and the back door open. Tree stump right there, straight down, is what her vehicle actually hit. There, we do still have some questions about that, whether it was under power when it went down through there. Obviously, when it's sitting at the stump, it is under power because the front wheels are spinning. I'm not going to try to explain why the front wheels were spinning. All we know is that they were spinning. The actual keys to the vehicle were right up in this area here. How she got outside the vehicle, well, we can play the what if. Obviously, I don't know how she ended up in the position that she was. We have taken the vehicle and taken it over to Belmont and stored it in their facilities over there for security. And we have done an inventory inside the vehicle.
Fingerprints?
We did a latent print search as to what's happened with any that they found. I haven't been instructed as to what's happened with those. Mount Holly's, we are a small town. We have limited resources, and all I did was call for extra resources. I made another call to the SBI. I said, can we do some more?
You said you had some pretty good leads. Do you still have?
Yes. I had a short conversation with the detectives before we came out here, and they're still following up on the leads. We are convinced that someone did that to her. So that's how our investigation is proceeding.
When you say someone did that to her, can you kind of explain someone drove?
Someone caused her death. Now, whether they drove that vehicle down there, I can't tell you that. If they pulled her out of the vehicle, I can't tell you that either. Simply because I do not know. But I know someone caused her death, and that's who we're trying to find.
Who they're trying to find. Well, it would have been 7 long months later. But on December 12th, 2008, investigators would announce the arrest of cousins Mark Carver and Neil Cassida. They said they found the men responsible for Ira's murder. But before the arrest, public pressure was mounting. In mid-May, UNC Charlotte announced a reward of $10,000 for information leading to an arrest in Ira's death. And a month later, in June, the governor's office approved an additional $5,000 reward, bringing the total to $15,000. Later that month, we were with Pavel Yarmolenko, Ira's brother, as he drove Interstate 85, stopping to put up flyers, hoping to inspire a break in the case.
Will it be a happy day when your sister's killer is caught?
I think so. I think it'll be bittersweet, but it'll be better than any other day before.
But another month would pass until July. Mount Holly Police Department announced new information in the investigation. Police said data from her car's black box indicated someone was sitting in the driver's seat, and the driver's seatbelt was engaged when it went down an embankment. They also said someone started the car at the scene. It was crickets until Carver and Cassida were arrested. And even as they appeared in court for the first time, police and the district attorney hadn't said what led them to charge the men. So what was it that put them behind bars? Cassida took a polygraph test, but records show he passed it. Carver was never offered one. Both men also voluntarily submitted DNA samples. Investigators say that's when they finally had the big lead they were looking for. They found traces of Carver's TouchDNA or skin cells outside of Ira's car above the rear driver's side door, and Cassida's TouchDNA inside the right passenger window and on the armrest. No fluid, no blood, but police believed it was enough to arrest them. I interviewed Carver from jail. He said he and Cassida were fishing nearby, but never saw Ira. All right. If you can, first off, talk to us about why police say you're behind Ira.
I don't know why they're saying I done it, because I didn't do it. I didn't even go around the car, didn't even do it.
Also voluntarily submitted DNA samples.
I'm putting on closed
captioning. They had
captioning.
the big lead they were looking for. They found traces of Carver's TouchDNA or skin cells outside of Ira's car above the rear driver's side door, and Cassida's TouchDNA inside the right passenger window and on the armrest. No fluid, no blood, but police believed it was enough to arrest them. I interviewed Carver from jail. He said he and Cassida were fishing nearby, but never saw Ira. All right. If you can, first off, talk to us about why police say you're behind Ira.
I don't know why they're saying I done it, because I didn't do it. I didn't even go around the car, didn't even know the car was up there or nothing.
Were you there when this happened?
Yeah, I was fishing down in the hollow.
Were you with Mr. Cassida?
No, I don't even know the girl. I've never seen her my whole life.
Were you fishing with your cousin?
Yeah, that's my cousin.
And that's Mr. Casada.
No, that's Neil Cassidy.
What's that?
Neil Cassidy.
Okay. If you can, talk to us about how this whole process began, how this thing led from you going fishing to you being behind bars.
Well, we was fishing, and we was down there and we heard a scrape. The next thing we know, the law and stuff started coming. And they showed up and they said there was a girl up there and stuff, you know. But we didn't know nothing about her being up there. You know.
What was your first contact with police after that? So you said you heard the scream, but you didn't know there was
I didn't hear no scream.
Let me rewind that. The closed captioning wasn't showing up there.
And we was down there and we heard a scrape. The next thing we know, the law and stuff started coming. And they showed up and they said there was a girl up there and stuff, you know. But we didn't know nothing about her being up there. You know.
What was your first contact with police after that? So you said you heard the scream, but you didn't know there was
I didn't hear no scream. I heard a scrape.
You heard what scrape?
Scrape.
Okay.
A scrape?
And when you heard that, what did you think?
They were scraping the road.
Did you go over to check and see what was happening?
I just kept fishing.
How did you realize something was going on there?
There's a boy on a jet ski started hollering, calling 911.
And did you call 911?
I didn't have no phone.
How did police come in contact with you? I assume they came in contact with you that day.
Yeah, they come in contact when they come through behind the YMCA. Up to that swamp.
And what did they say to you when they saw you there?
They told me not to move, just stay here. We're looking for a body.
How long did y'all end up talking that day?
Probably about an hour.
Have they ever explained to you what they thought you did? Why they believe that you're their man?
They said they had evidence. I done it. I didn't do it. I didn't go around the car. I'm nowhere near the car and nothing. I stayed down there where my Jeep was. I didn't go around.
Sorry, the audio's so horrible.
What kind of evidence did the police say they have?
They said that they had a DNA in the car. Of my DNA and Neil's DNA in the car. And I know that's a lie because Neil left and they couldn't have got no DNA because I wasn't down there. I didn't go around it. I didn't go around the car.
Despite his claims of innocence, MarkCarver went to trial and the state laid out its case, including a bombshell during his interrogation.
I believe the words he used was a little thing or a little girl. He said that she came up to him about right here.
Carver had claimed he'd never seen Ira, but how did he know how tall she was?
Tell me the truth about how tall she was on you. Probably about right there.
We're revisiting that video the jury never watched and whether it could have changed the trial's outcome.
I need to find that video too of that whole interrogation. I'd like to go into that in the next show for that.
Cousins MarkCarver and Neil Cassida both maintained their innocence as they prepared to go to trial for murder. Cassida would never have his day in court, though. He died of a heart attack the day before his trial was scheduled in October of 2010. Carver would finally go to trial at the Gaston County Courthouse in March 2011.
His attorney at the time told us Carver was looking forward to his day in court to clear his name. But the state painted a picture of a cold-blooded killer that needed to pay for what he did to a young, innocent woman.
Her feet were near the river, underneath some brush, and in closer inspection, she was actually holding some of that brush in her hand.
One of the detectives at the scene took the stand, unsealing the murder weapons, a ribbon taken from a purse in Ira's car, a black drawstring from her sweater.
This is the blue bungee cord from that was removed from Ms. Yarmolenko's neck.
The prosecution said Carver used these items to strangle Ira. The defense argued there was no proof of that because his DNA was not found on any of those.
Mr. Carver didn't do it. There's not enough evidence to let this case go to the jury.
Carver's DNA wasn't there, but an FBI forensic scientist testified that there was a DNA profile from an unknown person on one weapon. The prosecution argued Carver's DNA was washed away.
She was thrown in the river. The river washed away his DNA. That river did not wash away his sins.
The defense said that's absurd.
The state wants to believe that there has been a tsunami from the river that washed it off.
Even though Carver's DNA wasn't found on the murder weapons, the state's experts said DNA evidence showed that he likely touched her car. Prosecutors saying that proved that he lied when he said he was never at the crime scene.
126 million times more likely to be observed from MarkCarver.
The DNA puts this defendant in incredibly close proximity to a recently murdered girl.
And Carver's claim that he never ever seen Ira. A detective testified Carver knew how tall the woman was.
I believe the words he used was a little thing or a little girl. He said that she came up to him about right here.
But the defense argued Carver got that information secondhand and actually said,
I guess I saw it on TV.
I believe so, yes, sir.
Maybe the biggest question in the case is why. The defense proclaimed Carver, a complete stranger, had no reason to murder the UNC Charlotte student.
Why in the world would this man, MarkCarver, kill Irene Yarmolenko?
Even presenting the possibility Ira took her own life. But the prosecution said two fishermen saw the 20-year-old at the river and took advantage of the situation. They said Carver and Cassida strangled her, then tried to push her car with her inside into the Catawba River.
They murdered this girl, and they want that car and that body in the river where it will not be found.
It only took the jury 5 hours to find Carver guilty of first-degree murder.
The state of North Carolina versus MarkCarver, guilty of first-degree murder.
The judge sentencing him to life behind bars. Ira's older brother couldn't keep silent. He turned to Carver.
I don't know what to say to him.
He thanked the district attorney after leaving the courtroom.
This has been very hard for us, but justice was done here.
A week later, Carver's attorneys filed a motion asking the judge to overturn the jury's verdict, but that motion was denied. When I spoke with one of the jurors right after trial, he said a turning point for him was that Carver knew Ira Yarmolenko's height, but the video of Carver's interrogation may actually raise some questions about that.
He sat in a room with investigators for over an hour, answering questions about what he was doing the day Ira's body was found.
So once again, you didn't see or hear nothing other than the scraping. But what you say sounds like somebody scraping the road, but you didn't see nobody scraping the road. You just heard that. I just heard it. You saw some jet skiers and some normal boat traffic, but you didn't talk to them. You never saw the little girl that got killed. You never saw her car. You never heard her call. Did you ever hear her scream for help?
I didn't hear scream.
You didn't hear her scream at all. She didn't make a sound, did you? Whoever got on her quick did. Yeah. They got their hands around her throat quick did. Snuffed her out. Yeah. Just like that.
Then that bombshell moment where officials say Carver gave himself away.
Had to be somebody big and strong.
Like so, bigger than her. She was a little bitty thing like that. How much bigger she weighed?
Probably not.
How tall you figure she was? How tall were you?
About 5'4".
So she wasn't much taller than you?
Not right.
If y'all was standing up looking at each other in the eyes, but did she be looking you in the eyes?
Yeah, about there.
Stand up, show me about how tall she was on you.
Probably about right there.
Okay.
I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I understand.
The detective who testified at trial said Carver called Ira little, but you can hear it's actually the officer who called her little bitty first. That video was never played for jurors.
See,
it's just one
that's
reason
what I'm
why
saying.
the North Carolina Center on Actual Innocence says MarkCarver didn't have a proper defense.
They twisted
the group took
shit.
on his case in 2013. Their team helps provide legal services for inmates who are unrepresented, in financial need, and who have maintained their innocence. The center reviews more than 600 innocence claims from inmates each year. MarkCarver's current attorney, Chris Muma, is the group's executive director. She takes on just 2% of the clients who approach her.
We don't make statements that we believe someone is innocent unless we are really sure. We run a 98% rejection rate on the cases that come to us. And we don't take a case to litigation unless we are sure, 100% sure.
The center's website cites 9 cases where it's helped exonerate people, some serving decades behind bars. The group also lists 3 current cases, including Carver's, with scheduled litigation.
After years of fighting to overturn his conviction, a judge ruled MarkCarver deserves a new trial, a victory for his team,
Definitely innocent, 100%.
a blow to investigators, and certainly unsettling for Yarmolenko's family.
They're having to relive the horror. This is very, very sad.
The reason the judge said Carver wasn't properly defended, and the evidence he called doubtful.
The North Carolina Center on Actual Innocence filed a motion for appropriate relief on MarkCarver's behalf. Back in 2016, it cited DNA evidence and investigative flaws in its fight to prove his innocence. An evidentiary hearing was held in April of this year, and the judge on June 5th vacated his conviction and ordered a new trial. The judge's order said bluntly, MarkCarver's trial attorney failed to properly investigate the case before bringing it to trial, and then at trial, failed to present evidence about key factors. TouchDNA was likely the most important. That is, DNA discovered in small amounts, trace cells that can be easily transferred from person to person, place to place. It was a relatively new concept at the time of the trial. It is the only link between MarkCarver and the crime scene. His TouchDNA was reportedly found on Yarmolenko's car. Judge C.W. Bragg said Carver's attorney,
He just gave you a fiction.
Brent Ratchford, failed to educate himself on TouchDNA before the trial and didn't meet with the SBI Crime Lab analyst and the state's expert witness. He said during the trial, Ratchford didn't present his own evidence about DNA, which violates the American Bar Association's standards for criminal justice. The judge said Carver's attorney didn't talk to Carver's family or medical experts about Carver's carpal tunnel syndrome, a condition that can limit the amount of pressure a person can apply with his hands. The judge said that would have raised doubt about Carver's ability to strangle a young, healthy, and seemingly fit Ms. Yarmolenko. He said the defense team also failed to consider Neil Cassiter's heart problems that may have made it hard for him to help in the murder. The judge said Carver's attorney also failed to consider his limited IQ. His current attorney said he has the IQ of a child,
Whoever got on it before they get me.
and that made him very susceptible to suggestions during the interview with police. The judge said the defense team was granted money for a psychological evaluation but didn't get one, and didn't interview Carver's psychiatrist, the same doctor that Carver met with the morning that Yarmolenko was killed.
As I respect the judge, I think the judge is wrong. Because what the judge never addressed was how that would have changed things.
The judge mentioned how Carver's trial attorneys didn't use his medical records. The North Carolina Center on Actual Innocence said several doctors found Carver had greatly decreased grip strength and that he could not hold a doctor's pen without dropping it. Could these hands strangle someone? Carver mentioned his carpal tunnel syndrome and tendinitis in his arms several times during his 2008 interrogation.
You're not working that hard.
And they also stated that he had an inadequate representation as well, because the defense did not bring up a lot of stuff either. They didn't push things as well. So not only it was for convicting him wrongfully, but also not having the representation in order to be able to defend him like they should have been. It was a two-way street.
Yes, and that's why Ann Taylor brought experts to educate the judge on why she needs the information, because otherwise she would be ineffective. She would be ineffective counsel if she didn't pursue it.
And exactly, Sleuthen, if it was the Idaho case, his car would have been seen in the area and his phone would have pinged in the area too. His TouchDNA was at the crime scene on the victim's car. That's why I'm saying this article read through, people need to look at this case. That's why I'm going to do a show on the case by itself without Idaho4, because I don't think. Listen, there, right here. It's not going to show the article, but I'll share the link. Carver is still waiting for the governor to grant a pardon. So there's the article if you want to subscribe to it. But he's still waiting for a pardon. So I don't think they have any idea. That's why I want to talk about the case, because to me it's like, okay, well, justice didn't happen. I didn't know about this case before. It's crazy similar to Idaho4. And if this guy obviously didn't do it. They don't know who did it. I don't think they know who did it. There's DNA that they... do you think they were trying to find the other DNA when they got a conviction 13, 12 years ago? No, I doubt it. So now that, like, they better be running it. But they're probably not going to until the pardon's granted, because they feel like they had the right man convicted. It's an ego thing. You know, hell, you get we did the right thing. The brother came out and, justice was done, and they don't want to have egg on their face. They're supposed to be the guys that are supposed to be able to investigate these things and solve these crimes. That's why they're in the positions they are. Yeah, they totally took advantage of him. There's about 10 more minutes on this. Totally took advantage.
But you work in the middle, didn't you? Yeah, I did. I got privilege. How you privileged? I got carpal tunnel, tendonitis, and elbow.
According to medical records, Carver has had carpal tunnel syndrome since at least 1998. And another key flaw in the original trial, according to the judge, was the TouchDNA evidence. In 2008, it was cutting-edge forensic science. The technique allows for analysis of skin cells left behind after merely touching an object. TouchDNA does not involve any blood or bodily fluids, which can directly link a person to a crime scene. Critics argue it only requires a small amount of DNA that can be easily transferred. Carver's case was the first in North Carolina where TouchDNA evidence was considered by an appellate court. In a 2-to-1 ruling in 2012, the court upheld Carver's conviction, citing the DNA and his continued claims that he'd never been near Ewa's car as sufficient to establish that the DNA could only have been left at the time the offense was committed. But in a dissenting opinion, Justice Robert Hunter Jr. said Carver's conviction should be overturned because TouchDNA testing is relatively new and not as accurate as blood or saliva DNA testing. In 2013, North Carolina Supreme Court affirmed the lower court's ruling upholding Carver's conviction. The state's high court did not comment on TouchDNA. Not long before Carver's trial, the State Bureau of Investigation's crime lab came under fire after a government-ordered review raised serious questions about its procedures. The report by 2 former FBI officials found the SBI crime lab left out, overstated, or falsely reported blood evidence in about 200 criminal cases. They reviewed the cases over a 16-year period from 1987 to 2003 and said in some situations, SBI agents left out information that may have helped the defense. It's worth noting that the 2008 murder of Ira Yarmolenko was not within the scope of the review, but the SBI crime lab did undergo a series of changes after the 2010 report.
The district attorney said the judge's decision to vacate the conviction was wrong, and even if Carver's attorneys had presented evidence, he still would have been convicted of murder.
What the judge never addressed was how that would have changed things.
But one juror from back then said things could have been different.
I think I'm wrong.
My exclusive interview with the man who now says he may have helped send an innocent man to prison.
John Little sat in the courtroom in 2011 trying to make up his mind about whether Mark Carver murdered Ira Yarmolenko. He said he was only one of 2 jurors back then who wasn't immediately sure Carver was guilty. Little spoke exclusively to me about how he now thinks he helped send an innocent man to prison.
I just sent a man away for the rest of his life.
Listen closely, because you will rarely hear a juror say what John Little says about the man he helped to send to prison on a life sentence.
I think he needs to be freed.
You feel convinced of his innocence?
I do.
He calls his vote to convict MarkCarver of murder a mistake.
And if I can say it right, for my mistake.
John Little sat on the jury in 2011.
She was thrown in the river.
Patiently listening to prosecutors explain why they say MarkCarver and Neil Cassiter killed Iri Yarmolenko. Little had trouble with their argument.
Why would this guy go back over there and fish with his cousin if he just killed somebody, shoved him down to the lake, and go back over there fishing?
Blue bungee cord.
His mind changed when he heard a detective explain how Carver knew Ira's height, though Carver claimed he never met her.
He said that she came up to him about right here.
Little said the jurors wanted to hear from Carver himself.
They don't have any evidence to that.
But the defense team didn't call Carver and didn't put up evidence.
We wanted it. Everybody in the jury room did say that.
He told me despite that, once deliberations began, some jurors were convinced that they had heard enough.
They were just ready to get it done, get it over with, and let's get out. No, we're not doing that. We're gonna talk about this because I'm not ready to convict this man. They were kind of mad because I wasn't turning.
He and only one other juror originally voted not guilty. They eventually relented.
And this guy's going away for the rest of his life.
Right.
And it's a decision that I made.
Little said later he learned about things he didn't hear at trial. Police touching the car where Carver's DNA was reportedly found. The DNA wasn't tested until months after the discovery of the body.
I think I'm wrong.
Then in April, he saw this police interview of MarkCarver, and he believed he heard the investigator coaching Carver on the victim's height.
I would have never, ever convicted him had I seen what I seen in April.
Little wrote his concerns in an affidavit, hoping the world would know that he had a change of heart and would change his vote on a verdict if he could. Does it mean that much? Is it that deep?
Well, I wasn't given enough information to make a formative decision. I'm going to say it. I'm really pissed that we didn't get all the information because, that's just wrong. That's wrong.
The entire case looks different to him now.
It was botched from the get-go. They was just looking for somebody to convict. And Mr. Carver was unfortunately fishing that day.
Little says his remorse doesn't cancel out his concerns for Iri Yarmolenko, a 20-year-old found dead so far from home and gone way too soon.
And every time I go across that lake, I do think about that girl. Give the Yarmolenkos justice, but give MarkCarver justice.
In a perfect world, what makes this situation right?
Free the man and find the correct killer.
The jury deliberated for 5 hours before handing down a guilty verdict for first-degree murder back in 2011. The judge sentenced Carver to life in prison, where he stayed until he was released on June the 11th, 2019. Now, in the eyes of the law, he is innocent until proven guilty. So where do we go from here? It's important to remember this case is all about justice for Iri Yarmolenko, the 20-year-old college student who was taken from her family and her friends too soon. Ira moved to America from the Ukraine when she was just 7 years old. Loved ones described the young woman as a musician, a photographer, and a poet.
As a choir, as a lover of bodies and beauty, as a fighter of injustice and justice.
Family members said she loved nature and being outdoors. They said she was a trusting and outgoing person. Her brother Pavel said the search for her killer tormented the family as they wanted and waited, hoping for justice. We spoke to them during the heartbreaking time.
I only hope that police can find this person responsible for that.
I think it would be a disgrace to her name to not be hopeful that people can make a positive influence and that we can sort of move forward from this.
and it appeared justice came when a jury convicted Mark Carver of Ira's murder, and a judge sent him to prison for the rest of his life. But that closure has now been ripped away from them. I contacted Ira's brother Pavel after Carver's conviction was overturned. He didn't want to comment on the case. The Catawba River looks serene tonight, but it holds memories of a heinous crime and gruesome discovery. Ira Yarmolenko's body was found along the banks of this river more than 11 years ago, and to this day, questions about her murder have been mounting. Did investigators find her killers, or did they build their case against a man with questionable evidence? Mark Carver may be at home and out of prison, but it's not over. A new trial could bring to light new evidence to either prove his guilt or his innocence. But one thing is for sure, the 20-year-old college student who lost her life here on the banks of this river deserves justice. Thanks for joining us for True Crime Carolinas, the Mark Carver case.
And here is the link to this special. Shout out to them again. A great program. Kind of sums it all up, gives you a video representation of the article we read. The article kind of goes deeper. This was from 4 years ago. The article was from recent. Excuse me. Thank you, Detective Golden, for the video of the Mark Bradley Carver interrogation. I appreciate that. Let me see here. This is, so we pretty much did the special on that. Let's get into some of this Idaho4 stuff now. I'm going to save, let me check the poll. Do you guys really want to listen to this 45 minutes of the article read through? Let me see here. Let me see what the poll is. 70 to 30 pretty much. Go ahead and end that. Let me see here 1 second. Because I'm feeling kind of flushy right now. I think the medicine's wearing off. So I might end this here shortly. Let me see here. Well, actually, Harsh does have a video about Idaho4 and then mental health, since we were kind of talking about that in this case. I'm going to go ahead and watch this with you guys, too. Good night, everybody who's going to bed. I appreciate you. And I got some other Idaho4 stuff that we didn't get into tonight that I'm going to save for the next episode. Tomorrow, by the way, tomorrow, starting at noon Central, 1 o'clock Eastern, it's going to be probably about an 8-hour show. This is going to be the Idaho4 deep dive of the grub truck again, full stream, fresh notes. So if you want to join us tomorrow, there's the link. I'm anticipating it'll be about an 8-hour show. We're going to watch the whole 4.5-hour grub truck in its entirety. And kind of have my notebook out. I'm going to have old notes, fresh notes, anything you guys notice, anything that we'll point out. I'm anticipating about 8 hours. So that'll be at noon Central, 1 o'clock Eastern tomorrow. And 1 second here. We're going to switch to this Harsh video. And this is talking about the mental health in the Idaho4 case. And one more Harsh video. And then I'll probably end the evening Take some more medicine, get some rest. It's going to be a long show tomorrow, and I'm excited for it. It's on mute.
It's Friday, isn't it? It's Friday, and you do have to give Friday some kind of acknowledgement. Now, I know that Friday doesn't mean the same for everyone. It doesn't certainly mean the same for me, because I'll still be here and I'll still be doing stuff for you guys over the weekend. But I do appreciate that some people, they live for Fridays. They live for it. And for them, it's amazing. Not as amazing as you, by the way, because you are amazing. Even though we still get the trolls who have even gone as far now as researching in order to attack the fact that I say you guys are amazing. And they fail miserably. But anyway, I digress.
You know what I'm saying? If they use that energy for positive, imagine the force and the tidal wave it could be. It's sad. The energy, focus it on the victims, not other creators, you know? This be about the justice.
Yes. Look, we have seen some stuff come out over the last few hours. Reference Brian Kohberger and this aunt, not aunt, who knows, but someone who is claiming to be his aunt has come forward and she has spoken about Brian. One of the things that kind of made up the staple of that was regarding his mental health. And I feel that this is something that hasn't really been touched on massively. Make no bones about it, that is a bit of a game changer. Now, if Brian Kohberger does indeed have mental health issues, now, there are things on other platforms that are going as far as to say that potentially he has schizophrenia. Now, again, this is not something that has been proven. I've not seen anything whatsoever of any credibility to say that this is what he's got. Now, we have seen documentation go through the courts recently, over the last, again, couple of days, that seemingly are bringing forward medical documents, and they are being sealed. Now, because I don't work in law and I'm not completely familiar with how this system works, I am not completely able to distinguish between whether this is potentially Brian Kohberger's medical documents or somebody else's, maybe a witness or something like that. But what makes the most sense to me, since we've got all this stuff kind of culminating together in this big melting pot, is that these are potentially Brian Kohberger's medical documents, and they are looking to protect them from the public. Now, look, some people, including myself, have thought to myself, do you know what? If you'd done this and you thought to yourself, right, I've been caught on camera, my car's been caught on camera, there's a potential that I've been caught on camera because they've caught my car. And even though we've seen certain footage, we can potentially expect that there may be higher resolution pictures that the court has access to. So it's still possible that Brian Kohberger has been caught on a camera, but it may not have been around this vicinity. It might have been one of the cameras further afield. Point being, there could be proof that Brian Kohberger was around this vicinity on this night in his car. We don't know because that has not yet been proven, but it's a possibility. And what with his alibi stating that he was indeed driving around, you know, like some people point out, it's a bad alibi. Yeah, it just basically means that he was out and about. We also know that there's the issue with the phone pings. Some people have sent me some interesting interesting information surrounding the phone pings. I do know how the phone pings work, and I think we're still in a position where we're waiting for the phone data to be finalized by the FBI. I believe it was the FBI who's working on the phone data. So that has not come to fruition yet, but I agree with the email that has been sent. The likelihood is they're looking at triangulation. They're looking to see whether they can further pinpoint location and try and tie it in to be as accurate as they possibly can. And this could potentially take time. Now, some people have said to me about Brian Kohberger's traveling backwards and forwards between Washington and Moscow, saying
I got you already, Yoli.
that it ceased after these crimes, but we know that Brian Kohberger also had other things going on, and he left to go back to Pennsylvania for the holiday season anyway. So, and then he was arrested. So he didn't really have time to do his furthering into that, going backwards and forwards between Washington and Moscow, if that was, how can we say, legitimate reasons to go. Which is a question. I get it, and I get why some people are squaring it. But anyway, point being, and they've also got this nice sheath that seemingly has his DNA on it. So I put it in the perspective of, look, if he's a clever guy, he's a smart guy. So if he has done the crime and he's thinking, well, I'm pretty much screwed from the position of, they've got my DNA at the crime scene, they've got my car on camera, they've got all of my computers, they've got all of my digital stuff, they've got receipts that could potentially be incriminating as well, because he will know, he will specifically know what is on these and whether they can trace purchasers of the things that were involved in this crime. He will know. So from a mental health perspective, you think that would have been a time to potentially go for a plea deal, to claim mental incapacity, to say that, yeah, I have illnesses and they affect the way that I am, and they would have been viable if he has indeed got specific things wrong with him. And that could have potentially changed everything. But again, I'm at this point, this juncture, where I think if there was a mental health issue, would that have been a card played earlier? Now, we know that Brian Kohberger stood silent instead of pleading not guilty. And there could be ramifications there, or there would have been ramifications there, had he have pled not guilty and then later on down the line perhaps tried to change his whole dynamic to say, 1 minute I'm saying I'm not doing it, and the next minute saying that I did it, but I did it for this reason. Would that have held as much weight that it would now, if he's just stood silent the whole way along and thought, do you know what, let's just get everything in, let's get the defense, the prosecution to get everything. Like, there's now been a 9th request for information. We know that they've, the discovery has been asked for and asked for and asked for. So it's now a 9th time. So 9 requests for discovery. So it does look like they are trying to get absolutely everything in. And I do now wonder whether this is now a fishing expedition to see exactly what they've got, to see whether it's worth. From a guilty perspective, this is, guys. We have to believe that there is innocent until proven guilty, but we also have to appreciate that Brian Kohberger's in the position that he's in. And I'm just trying to look at it from the perspective of what would this look like if he's guilty. Like, some people always come to me and they'll say, if Brian's innocent of all this, then why isn't he screaming from the rooftops? Why isn't he saying, I'm innocent, I'm innocent, I'm innocent? And I always say, but we don't know he's not. We don't know he's not. We don't know who he's pled his innocence to. We don't know who he's spoken to, who he said what to, because that's not going to be made public. It simply isn't. And ultimately, he's in that process now. And he's part of a machine that has to go in a certain direction. So unless he's got some solid evidence, an alibi that would, without no shadow of a doubt, have proven that he was somewhere else when this crime was taking place, that's the only thing that could have got him out of this. It's the only thing that could have got him out of it. So we know that he's in a position where, whether he's innocent or guilty, the situation remains the same. He has to be proven to be guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. So there will be reasons why, even if he's guilty, he would remain quiet. And if he's innocent, he'll remain quiet, because there could be things that he could say that could further incriminate him. But the mental health being brought up by his auntie has stirred new thoughts within me as an individual who has been completely open to this innocent until proven guilty. I never saw Brian Kohberger as somebody who was in love with Maddie, for instance, had become fixated because he'd been trawling around the Instagrams and looking at her pictures and saw these girls and was like a kid in a fucking candy shop. I never saw that. I didn't see that in Brian. People have quite rightly stated that Brian is not an ugly guy. He's not an unattractive guy. He's not going to be everyone's cup of tea. Like, I'm not.
I'm gonna leave it on that real quick. We're gonna get to this new document. It's nothing special, okay? It really isn't. It's just a media request from Court TV, but I'm gonna go ahead and show you guys anyway, because it is a new document. It's already been posted in the document drop section. Let me switch this around. Basically,
are we going back to harsh or?
Yeah, we're gonna finish it up.
Oh, okay.
He's got another like 8 minutes or something, but everybody keeps it's the new document. I'm just gonna read it real quick. This is Court TV's request. Basically, like everybody else, it's nothing special. It got it's just like everybody else. All the requests. Yes, there's a new document, but it's nothing crazy. So I just wanted to. It's Court TV's request to have access. That's all. All right, we're gonna get back to the harsh video. Thank you all. I appreciate you.
Not going to be everyone's cup of tea. You know what I mean? But ultimately, he could have got females. He was a catch to some, and I just didn't see him as what many are trying to push. Just didn't see it. I then didn't see him as someone who was capable, had the mental or physical capacity to be able to pull this crime off in the manner with which we've been pushed that it did. This really small window of opportunity to enter a home that you don't know how many people are in it. That risk, there's so much risk. And to go in there with some degree of, I know I'm good enough to go into this property, and whatever I face when I open that door, I'm going to be able to overcome.
Right.
Because you've got two things happen there. You are either got to believe that Brian Kohberger did it on his own without any help, so he has then got to have the confidence and the ability and know of his confidence and ability to go in and dispatch whatever he needs to in this property. Or he's had help. So he already knows what to expect. So there are no surprises. So, it's one or the other. But I just didn't see Brian, if you remove any help or assistance, to be able to do this solely on his own. If he was a soldier, if he was a military expert, then that would be very, very different. And this is why I did a video the other day based on the undeniable military connection that I feel this case has. And that is that the person who did this, if you believe that they did it completely on their own, had to have either done this previously or had a certain degree of fighting and combat training. And I don't believe that Brian Kohberger's boxing would have helped him, or his time in the ROTC. I believe it's the ROTC. He spent some time in there. I just couldn't see him obtaining enough. And I see some people also saying that the military do not train in hand-to-hand combat now. I live off a base. I'm surrounded by military. Our family's military. And I can tell you with a huge degree of certainty that soldiers are still trained in hand-to-hand combat. Not new recruits, certainly. But when you go through the ranks and you've been there for a certain period of time and you start going into the speciality areas of the military, there is a degree of training that includes hand-to-hand combat. So, look, I digress. Mental health. Brian Kohberger's aunt alluded to the fact that he was potentially on some form of medication to help control something. I believe, off the top of my head, it was put down as depression. We know that depression, anxiety, they all kind of culminate into other things. And we know that his mum had concerns about him going off to college and whether he would have the ability to make friends. It was something that she voiced on her Reddit before her Reddit account was pulled. And she spoke to her community about that briefly, albeit, but she spoke about it. She didn't speak about any mental health issues or anything that personal, but this aunt has come in and she has thrown it. She's basically thrown into the wolves, I feel, because even people like myself, I do now have this seed where I think, because of my own experiences, you know, for those of you who have been around the channel for some period of time, you will know that my mum was a sufferer of paranoid schizophrenia. She would go on to lose her life, but during her period of being in this situation, I was attacked. It led to me being attacked and
I can imagine.
being injured and subsequently leaving home and having to live.
Right, I can imagine in the stories that you would probably reach out to people to help you and they didn't believe you. I can imagine the shit. Yeah.
Elsewhere, and that was something very, very simple that spurned that attack. And it's something that makes me think to myself, if this is genuine, and Brian Kohberger had a serious mental health issue, then it does change things somewhat. And I know there's a bit of a stigma around mental health. People don't like talking about mental health, and I am not a mental health specialist.
I didn't either.
I'm just someone who spent decades dealing with mental health with family members and the ramifications that came from not perhaps knowing fully how to, at the time, navigate someone with those issues. And it is something that does bother me with this case, because if you can't look at Brian Kohberger and think, we just see him as this smart academic who was moving his way forward towards this 6-figure salary and perhaps work alongside law enforcement with this knowledge of, you know, forensics and DNA, and you think but you throw mental health in the ring and you can make somebody a completely different person. There can be a dark side of that person, and that can make them do some horrific, horrendous things and not think anything of it. And in fact, they can afterwards refuse to even accept that it happened. And I'm telling you for a fact, again, I was attacked by my own mother with a weapon.
Wow.
And after this all happened, it would seem that she completely removed that from her psyche. It was like it didn't happen. Didn't happen. Now, whether she knew it did and she
didn't want to admit it.
To ignore it, I don't know, because I
want to
couldn't see
admit it.
inside her mind. And even though I do have a degree in psychology, it doesn't help me to establish whether someone's lying about whether they remember an attack or not. And I'm not saying Brian Kohberger could have done this attack and not even know that he did it. It's possible. You can't rule that out 100%, believe it or not. But what do you think? With the recent things that have come out,
interesting,
do you believe that this changes things? Has it changed the way that you look at the case and how you look at Brian? Are you now, like I am, which is a little bit on tenterhooks, thinking once discovery all comes in, could the defense approach for a plea deal? And are we waiting now for something to do with this mental health to come out? Will the defense have one last shot to try and have this case turned over, you know, to get shot and revert back to a preliminary hearing and try and fight the system, play the system? Or is it going to get to the point where enough discovery has gone across for Ann Taylor to say to Brian, look, this ain't looking good, and we're going to have to change tactic?
That's it. What a great video. Let me share that. Harsh needs to see that damn video about that read through of that article. I'm sure he would dig into it as well, you know, for real.
Mm-hmm.
That was a good video.
Yeah.
Shout out, man. That's tough shit right there. Thank you all for being here tonight. I appreciate you. Thank you too for being up here on panel. Appreciate you. Plenty more stuff I didn't get to tonight for Idaho4, so we'll have plenty of stuff to have for its own episode, and I'll be doing that. I'll probably do a hangout show after tomorrow's Grub Truck deep dive. So the next Idaho4 show will probably be Sunday night. Because I plan on doing something special Sunday afternoon, some drawing show Sunday afternoon. So, and a little bit of true crime. Some of these other cases, you know, there's a lot of stuff with Long Island and some of these other cases that have come out. I'm probably going to have like a couple hour episode Sunday where I just kind of go through some shit real quick and then do some drawing in some Idaho4. So. Whew, what a night. Thank you so much. I appreciate a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. A lot more questions too. So thank you so much, everybody. Oh, go ahead.
I'll see you guys later.
Yeah, thank you so much, everybody. Appreciate you. And
Good night,
we'll see you
Unravel.
tomorrow. Good night, Unravel. Good night, Yoli. Good night, everybody.
Good
Thank
night.
you so much.